Okay, this is the September video chat with fans. And I realize it's been a while since I've said this. If you're wondering what this is just sort of a proof of life thing where I answer questions. You should, if you shouldn't watch these unless you're bored. I don't really put effort into these. It's just answering questions. So everything else usually on the channel has effort going into it. Okay, couple announcements. I sort of hit my minimum from last time, but still kind of behind. However, I'm optimistic about this month. I think potentially several things could be coming out this month, so we'll see. There's still one big video that I don't even think it's going to make it this month, but several others that should be coming out. But again, I don't want to promise anything, just that more is coming. Let's see. No, oh yeah, another announcement. This won't affect anyone watching this on YouTube, but for Twitch, I screwed up and said this is going to be on the 9th for some reason. I don't know why. I think my brain was just thinking September is the 9th month, and so that's why I put down 9. No, it's right now, so oops. Oh yeah, actually, here's a question. I should ask this next time. I usually have it on either the first Saturday or Sunday of the month, unless I have a reason to delay it. And I try to alternate it. I'm sure I'm going to get biased results each time, but like the chat, would you, if I were to just make this one day, would you prefer it be Saturdays or Sundays? Like, because I'm thinking some people might be working on Saturdays, but then if it's on Saturday, you can kind of stay up later too. Although this is usually earlier in the day, you know. Okay, we got one don't care. I'm just curious. And I actually have one more announcement that this kind of, let's see, this kind of came up that this probably only applies to like 0.1% of people who are going to be looking at this, but it's potentially important, so I better bring it up. Someone emailed me saying that there's a new law for digital products in Germany being proposed based on European Union law. According to this person, they said, well, there's a loud construction outside. Mike probably didn't pick it up though. That would force sellers to provide updates for tech and force them to make sure that digital content is usable on future systems. Now, I've become extremely cynical about this sort of thing, that the law, like even if this is passed, it's still going to be worded in such a way that games as a service could skirt right by it and still have no obligations whatsoever to the consumer. But maybe there's more to this than I think. However, it's in German, and it's probably in German legalese too. So it's kind of a long shot, but I figure I should probably run it down. I'll give a link to this. Well, here, the guy gave me some links. I can just post that in the chat right now. But I'll put a link to this when this goes up on YouTube. Okay, yeah, here are the links to the documents. My guess is this isn't gonna help, but might as well check, because if any law that gets in there that just it's black and white saying that, you know, you can't just, your product has to work in the future and they can't just press a switch and it turns off, then I'm going to press that as hard as I possibly can. I mean, I'm still more optimistic about France, but hey, if this law actually is helpful, then yeah, I would want to push on it. I'm not, again, I'm not too optimistic about it, but what was I gonna say? I had a thought, but I lost it. The EU documents. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking, the way games is, it could be the sort of thing too, where just because the client can technically run, then it's okay. But again, I want the courts examining and painting this black and white one way or the other, because again, like the whole industry is basically existing in a gray zone, and it's what, worth billions of dollars. So, because I was thinking a good analogy to this would be like if a company sold you a car, and then the car, in order for the car to start, it had to dial into the manufacturer, and then at a later date they just hit a button, and then the car would never start again. And it was designed in a way so that you couldn't repair it, you couldn't replace parts. Like the car would just be unrunnable. That wouldn't so not fly in many countries for just normal consumer products, but that's how games are being run. So yes, you would technically have the car, except it would be designed in a way that there would be no use for it at all. So they wouldn't technically remove it. They just would have removed all value that it has. It would not run. You couldn't strip it down for parts. It would just be worthless chunk. So it's hard coming up with real world analogies, because this level of, I would say, consumer violation isn't even possible with most real world products. So, oh, okay. Great. Somebody figured out already that if you change it to EN, it's translated into English. Well, great. And I'm looking at this immediately. So yes, okay, so I'll post the English links on YouTube, and you are going to need to have a legal background in order to interpret this. I can see that right now. This is not light reading. But yeah, feel free to look it over. I'm just going to assume this doesn't help, but by all means, check to see if I'm wrong, because I would love to be wrong on this. Oh, wow. Okay. Hopefully we haven't been getting double audio this whole time. Chat, have we? I just realized it was playing off the stream off of Twitch, but that was coming through my headphones. So it probably didn't get picked up unless the software was meant to. Okay, good. So there hasn't been double audio. Yeah, anytime there's a huge problem with the stream, everybody feel free to just start typing in caps at me and try to get my attention. So yeah, actually I heard there was an article a while ago that apparently Snoop Dogg had been streaming, and he'd been doing it without audio or something, but he had disabled the chat so that only emoticons were allowed. And so like the chat was like struggling to communicate this to him, but I'm not sure it ever got resolved. So, but yeah, so yeah, I thought I should at least announce it. There's a small chance on that. Probably not. I still think France is the best bet, but yeah, so I'm just going to go through this and then probably get back to the videos. So yeah, I'll start with the questions. Then I'll take some live ones at the end. I'm surprised this was the top voted one. What's your favorite time of the year weather-wise? I guess fall. Although I do prefer leaves on the trees, so I guess early fall, so you can still have vegetation that you see more. I guess, yeah, I like colder weather, but okay, yeah, next question. Which punk subgenre, cyberpunk, steampunk, dieselpunk, etc., do you like the most in video games? I'm kind of fine with any of them. I guess the thing I like, though, is I like a lot of spectacle. I like, if you're going to have a cyberpunk or a steampunk thing, I want them going all the way. So, if it's steampunk, we're having gigantic gears all over the place, maybe some mechs or like mech blimps flying around, and like the cities just look like something completely different. If it's cyberpunk, it's kind of Blade Runner-ish. We're having circuitry just everywhere, like in the buildings and just kind of towering cyberscape places. So I don't even know if I really have a strong preference. It's just I want a big spectacle out of it. If you're going, not just like a little cyberpunk or a little steampunk. Then that gets kind of disappointing. Yeah, actually, I played a few levels of it, but I decided to shelve it because my performance wasn't that great. I'm probably gonna need a better video card eventually. Iron Harvest. I played the first few maps of that, and I mean it's good. It's really just sort of like a comic book version of World War One, just with there are mech units also. And I was thinking, well, maybe it changes the deeper you get into the campaign, but I was thinking it'd be more fun if they just kind of went all in and then this was just almost like unrecognizable from existing history, where it's because it's so deep into the steampunk or diesel punk. Yeah, to show you how much I care about it, I don't even think most of the time whether it's like diesel punk or steampunk. I just call it all steampunk. So, uh, but yeah, but I was thinking, like, while I have other criticisms of the game, a good example of what I'm talking about is with Bioshock Infinite. I mean, I think there's things to criticize it on, but as far as spectacle and showing off this sort of steampunk environment, yeah, okay, it delivers on that. It definitely has moments to kind of wow you with it. So that's the sort of thing I'm looking for. Like I'm really looking forward to playing Cloudpunk eventually. That has the sort of cyberpunk in the air aesthetic to it. And there was another isometric game I forgot the name of, but you could tell visually they were going all in on the look of it. I forget the name of it. I might recognize it. And there was another one that I mean, I think they had like a medium budget. Started playing some of, was it Ghost Runner? That one definitely, they were kind of leaning into the cyberpunk aesthetic. So I like to. So yeah, I'm not picky, but I want you to go all in. Don't have just like a little gadget or a couple clothes that are steampunk. No, like yeah. I think I remember mentioning in the first game engine. It was a Jamestown. It was this sort of vertical shoot 'em up, and they're going in pretty hard with the steampunk thing, with blasters and airships and stuff. So yeah, just don't hold back if you're doing that. That's my one piece of advice. Okay. Oh yeah. What's your biggest motivation for working as hard as you do? Your drive to share creation with others, the fear of what might happen if you don't fulfill your quotas, or a different reason? My first thought seeing this question is in the movie National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Main character is decorating his house like completely decked out with Christmas lights, and he's trying to show it off, and then it doesn't work because there's a power glitch, and then his daughter, and then like the rest of the family's grumbling against him, as the daughter is sort of defending him, saying like, "Come on, Grandpa, he worked really hard," and his I think it's his father-in-law or his dad says like, "So do washing machines," and like. I was thinking that was such a good burn because not only is it witty, but there's some truth to that. Working hard. I mean, I do work hard at things, but I'm like, I haven't been satisfied with like my output for a really long time, maybe ever. Like it always feels like I'm way behind where I feel like I should be. So, I mean, working hard is a reflection of your character, but not much else. I mean, because sometimes you can get things done without having to work as hard, but or the results aren't what you have to show for it. But yeah, it's multiple things. I mean, it kind of shifts with what I'm working on too. I mean, I always feel a lot of pressure internally when I haven't had a video out for a while. So I feel a little bit better that I got a game dungeon out, but I still feel like I'm way behind where I wanted to be. I guess for other things, but it's not all that, because if I was only worried about like the financial aspect of it or just getting stuff out regularly, I would probably just take the easy way out and do streaming. Apparently it can be quite profitable. But I feel like I wouldn't be making much of anything that would have lasting value then. And it's not even about sharing it with the audience. It's more like, I was thinking of the best way to explain it is like imagine you had like a dream of something, or you imagine something that would be really cool, and you know you can manifest it, but it would take a lot of work. But you think it would just be so neat to kind of make this, and you would just feel kind of disappointed if you didn't. Um, that's the drive for a lot of things, because it's not even necessarily about like having to share with others, though that's part of it, but it's just that you have this vision that you kind of want to manifest. Um, let's see but yeah, but yeah, I feel like I feel like a lot of what I made doesn't really reflect how hard I'm working on various different things. So that kind of, unfortunately, which that kind of ups the pressure more, because it's like, oh God, like people are gonna think this took me like 30 minutes to make, even though the thing that kills me are like getting all the little details right. It's like so many videos at first glance just look 90% done, when the reality is it's like I'm halfway almost. But hopefully it'll get better. Actually, one thing that's helping a lot, or at least mentally, I'm finally clicking with somebody who kind of gets what I'm going for with the volume balancing. He's been in the credits of the past couple of videos, and he's not fast, but that's fine because that means I don't have to work on it. And he seems to be fine with working on it, which is great because that's literally one of my least favorite parts of video production. So there might be a little bit more of a lag time, but that's time I can work on the next video. So that I really hope that keeps up, that he keeps doing a good job of volume. Yeah, actually, it was just lucky timing that, yeah, like I probably would have had that blooper out maybe a week earlier if I hadn't sent it to him first and gotten a few extra sound effects for him. But that was a perfect test because it was only like 30 seconds, and it has kind of a variety of things that are going on with the sound effects. And if he totally messed up on it, then it's like, oh well, it's just a 30-second clip. I can do that. So, well, anyway, what's making me feel better though is that I feel like with the videos, not the movie this year, but with other videos I have lined up, I think I'll kind of redeem myself a bit with the delays for everything I think I can get out for the remainder of the year. And then next year, I'm just going to go in very hard on the movie. And that'll exacerbate the problem a bit, but once if the movie gets made, I feel like most things are forgiven in my mind. So, yeah, I don't want to dwell on this, but yeah, my motivation is part financial, part me not wanting to let people down, you know, because like, let's say I'm fine financially. It's like, well, I've gotten emails where people say they really appreciate the videos. And so I'm thinking like, oh geez, well, I could get more. I mean, yeah, the hard part is not writing the script and voicing it. It's like everything else. That's the part that like gets more time consuming and mentally taxing for me. But you know, I'll just so yeah, part financial, part not wanting to let people down, and part just like wanting to manifest some ideas. And again, it kind of varies. Like the movie, that's like almost completely independent of like whether people really want to see it or not. No, it's like I just want to make that from like my own sanity. So, but something like Freeman's Mind, that's much more like I don't want to let people down, you know, and I feel like I have been. Game Dungeon is just kind of fun, you know. I mean, I don't really feel like I have to manifest stuff with Game Dungeon, but I wouldn't want to let people down. And it's, you know, it's enjoyable, but yeah, unfortunately, the stuff I most want to make is also probably the hardest and least fun to make. So it's kind of an inverse relationship. It's kind of a dilemma I have keep going. So, is there anything about Poland that you can't see yourself living without? Well, the cop out answer is cost of living. I mean, geez, I think I mentioned before, even if I hadn't met my wife, I think by now there's a high chance I might have left the country just from cost of living. I mean, it's because well, healthy pretty much. But say I got in a car accident or something. Well, then your life can be kind of over financially in the U.S. But even without that, there's rent drilling down on you, where it kind of creates the financial pressure even more and more. And I remember thinking that that if nothing changed, I would probably be okay. But then I knew things could very well change, and they did with Machinima. My income went through the floor, and I had to kind of scrape myself back up from that. And I think if I was in the U.S., I probably would have just had to abandon YouTube stuff largely. You would probably have like a civil protection like once a year or something, and that would be it. Or maybe not even that, depending, because I would have had to get a different job. It just wouldn't have been able to float things. It might not have even been that, because civil protection was kind of escalating in production time then too. Well, let's see. Cost of living was the easy answer. It's not that I dislike the U.S. It's just, if you feel like you're getting squeezed, you really start thinking, how can I get out of this situation? And a lot of things are pointing towards living in a place with a lower cost of living. So, I'm pretty adaptable to a lot of different environments, but something I definitely missed a lot, and I'm glad I have it here, but it was kind of making me a little bit miserable at other places, was just access to forest. I don't know, something about my brain really wants that. I'm not too picky on the type of forest though. Like if it was like farther north and it was like a bunch of evergreens instead, that'd be fine. Or farther south and it was more like jungle or something, I might be all right with that too. But part of my brain really wants to have like access to vegetation. I don't know why, but I found it's like undeniable in my nature now. Like I don't know. So I would want that in wherever I lived, but I can't think of much else that like is like completely indispensable. I like not having to have a car, again because of cost of living, and again because commuting isn't that much fun, or just running errands in a car isn't a lot of fun. So it's odd hearing me say this as many driving games as I've played, but in driving games you're ready to go in your exotic racetrack and just start. All right, start driving. So it cuts out all the mundane parts out of it. If you had to pick a video game to get a proper HBO-style miniseries, what would it be? Yeah, and they're saying a budget along the line of Band of Brothers or The Wire. I don't know what kind of budget those had, though. Band of Brothers was pretty impressive production from what I remembered, especially the earlier parts, with the Normandy landing. But okay, this is the sort of thing where my answer could change later, but this just comes to mind recently because I was having this thought anyway. Well, actually, no. My number one answer, I'm afraid I'm keeping a secret, because I've said before I actually have ideas that I think could be even better than the movie, and this would be one of them. So I'm afraid I'm keeping one of them a secret. But I thought of one recently that I thought would be pretty good. Not an obvious answer, because I was thinking, if it's a video game that has a great storyline, that might actually not be the best pick for a TV series, because you want something you can expand a lot more on. Whereas if they did a great job delivering the story, had great performances, then a TV series might be kind of set up to fail, because it's going to be hard to live up to the original production. But okay, this answer I doubt anyone was going to see me saying, but I'll try and pitch it here. I recently became aware of the game Cookie Clicker. And this is just a simple time-wasting game. And it is. I played a little bit of it, and then I just kind of did cheats to see the rest of it. But the thing is, thematically, there's actually a whole lot going on in this game. And I think it actually translates to an amazing TV series. Uh, the general premise is it's just a clicking game, and then you get these little upgrades, and then they start producing cookies, and then you get things to produce more cookies. But it takes such a it takes a real shift where it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating, and then starts parts of it can head off into like Lovecraftian territory. So, like, if I was to make a series of this, like the first episode would just be like almost kind of like a little bit like Dr. Seuss style, like not at that goofy, but just sort of like real, but like a little surreal, like a little goofier. So the first episode would just be like a baker with a lot of gumption, and like the final episode would be almost everything in the universe and beyond has been corrupted and is just completely fallow and just overrun and just nothing but madness left. Like that would be the final episode. So it would be an interesting journey from like the episode 1 to the final one. So what I was thinking is, first one, you're just having like a startup, and then like I think in the game you get like these. So that's the thing. You're making cookies, but they kind of take. This is why I said like the Dr. Seuss element. They take liberties with how you're making them, because the next upgrade is like a cookie farm where there's cookie trees and you're growing cookie crops. Not like ingredients to go in the cookies, even though they have that as an industry too. Like wheat, nuts, chocolate, or cocoa. But yeah, just cookie plants. They grow cookies. So I was thinking, like the second, maybe, so you have the startup, then you have a couple episodes, and then like those, so the cookie farms, you can maybe make it like a little more folksy, like Little House on the Prairie, kind of style thing. Like maybe they have the small cookie farms, and then like the big industrialized cookie farm is moving in, but maybe they band together. So have a little story like that. And then you go to the cookie mines where they're mining, chocolate and caramel deep within the earth, and just show like you could have like kind of some coal mining parallels or something. Have a cookie mining town, like have an episode or two about that. And then, they have factories. And then you have cookie banks, which they have a stock market. So then you could kind of rip off the movie Wall Street, have like a Gordon Gekko of cookies where maybe he's like, you could show like real like corporate raider tactics where they're like, maybe there's some insider trading where they're trying to pump up like peanut butter cookies, but then they're really making a move towards Oreos, and the thing is, I think what would sell this is if you don't make it too goofy and like every single character just treats this as though like this is real and normal, but they're acting within those confines that, so I've seen that movie, The Stuff. So it would just keep escalating, but yeah, I forget what comes after that. There's like a factor. Oh yeah, they have cookie temples where they head deep to find temples of chocolate and ancient lost recipes and stuff. So you could have more of like an Indiana Jones kind of experience for that. And so it would be a bit of like a variety episodes, but you could kind of tie back the different plot points if you had some characters, and just each episode would just kind of keep escalating the cookie empire here. And then like at one point you open a portal to the cookie universe, and then things start getting kind of crazier. And yeah, they have like a cookie space program where you head to the cookie planet to import more cookies. And I think you would have this, like you basically present this world where like there's basically an endless demand for cookies. Like it just never, and in fact, you could even have that in like a talk show or something, like where somebody could raise the question like, oh, don't you think we've, going too far with cookies? And like, I thought of the perfect rebuttal to this would be saying, well, hey, if you don't want your cookies, I'll take them. And then like everybody could, like the crowd would like almost mob them, like say, yeah, give me your cookies. Like, so just showed like this persistent mania. And then, it ends up, like I said, it ends up going to like these Lovecraftian themes, but they also have like these prism and fractal generators. And I thought you could kind of get really out there. I was imagining something like aesthetically sort of like Asgard from the Thor movies, where you're just having these light planes of existence used to manufacture more cookies, and I think it could be amazing. Like it would be kind of this surreal humor to it, but it would. I'm giving this. I would be interested in doing this, but I think it would just take too much work to do it right. I would need a lot of help for something like this, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like in the game, they have like these little news tickers, and they'll say like, "Oh, there's like a disaster at the cookie factory, and only people only have muffins," and like the mayor's, it's just not the same, says mayor of the town. So you have like have lots of cookie politics going on. So it would be, I mean, it would be a comedy, but it would be kind of more of a subdued one where, like, again, every character is treating this as real. So it's not like, so it's goofy, but not like 100%. I think I would love something like that. So, uh, I think it would be interesting. That just, and it would be perfect for a series because, each episode you're kind of progressing the escalation. Yeah, I think for like the beginning episodes, you'd have more of this sort of like front pioneer or like frontier business kind of attitude where like, you're growing, and then you kind of get into like the logistics of a cookie empire, and then we just get into like crazy magic and mystical stuff and universe. Yeah, I think the final stage is you're basically plundering parallel universes for their cookies, or rewiring them to produce nothing but more cookies. So, and again, you could have like the dark, yeah, in the game they have like the grandma apocalypse, so, because you employ a grandma workforce to bake better cookies. And so, and you can get like this hive mind thing, where that's where it starts getting really Lovecraftian. And so, yeah, it could get dark towards the end of it. So I think this would be I think this could be fantastic, as if it was done right. I put it like this, I'm sure I could make it, but I would need a lot of resources. Uh, so it's saying be good in a documentary. No, I think it'd be better as like a storytelling thing. Like, in like these big disaster movies, like in Independence Day or something like that, they'll show what's happening from different perspectives. Like one is from the journalist, another was from a guy in the military, that sort of thing. I think it'd be best like that, to show like different perspectives, like the cookie miner, or the cookie farmer, the Gordon Gecko of cookies, that sort of thing. So you can kind of, I think it'd be great to kind of like bounce around the different aspects of it, but it's just all to make cookies. And I was thinking the way you would treat this is like, it would be like the present day, except somehow we were able to make cookies like this. That's the sort of more fantasy element of it. I was thinking, like, imagine if for whatever reason there was suddenly an incredible demand for sand, like it just became super valuable. Well, that would change how we're doing all kinds of things. Like we would probably start, I mean, we would just start mining the deserts, but then, if the mania just didn't quit, we would end up like harvesting coastlines across the globe, really, the ocean floor. We'd be taking the sand out of sand traps from golf courses or sandboxes. Just like, I love this aspect of it where it's just total and complete mania for something. In this case, it's cookies. So I think that could be a really interesting TV series. But I doubt that would happen, or they'd probably just be stupid if they did do it. But I'm pretty confident I can make it in a way that I think you'd watch this, you'd be like, what is this? But you'd want to keep watching. And again, I could probably have a different answer another time, but that's what came to mind. Because I was just seeing way too much potential. Okay, next question. In Armed and Delirious, you brought up the most noteworthy aspects of the game, but you never mentioned the voice acting. Is there anything about the actor's performance that stuck out to you, considering how crazy the script must have looked? I mean, I think, I don't even remember most of them aside from Granny. I mean, she obviously did a great job, but it's just kind of adding to the madness, because most of what maybe it's like how she delivered or how they recorded her, but most of it sounds like she's just sort of muttering to herself. Like So I mean, she did a great job, the actress, but I mean, it's just there was a lot going on in that game. I'm trying to think of other characters where, well, yeah, you had the fish thing that was interesting. Uh, yeah, you had the army ants, but that was sort of like your typical sort of cartoon voice, or your typical cartoon drill sergeant. I'm trying to remember the others, but yeah, I mean, just I don't think I think the voice acting was pretty good in that. Yeah, there was the rabbit. The Well, he was just kind of he gave pretty good performance, but it wasn't like incredibly weird. It's more like everything around it was weird. Um, yeah, I think that's what it is. Everybody did a pretty good job with the voice acting that I remember, but it's just there's so much madness in that game that I wasn't even thinking about it that much. Which game had the greatest puzzles for you? Well, I have to say the Still Life had some really good ones. I mentioned that. What was another game that had really? It was on Game Dungeon. Oh yeah, Puzzle Agent. Puzzle Agent had some pretty good ones. The Talos Principle had some very solid ones. Those really slowed me down. Some of those. I'm trying to think of others. Yeah, like I played one a couple months ago that I just the game was nice enough, but I kept waiting for the puzzles to get hard. They never got hard. Was it Cube 2? Spelled with a Q? Qube. I played the original, but I forget how difficult the puzzles were. The sequel, they were not that hard. I think there was one that slowed me down a little. Everything else, I was just like tearing through it. So that's why I was sort of disappointed by Portal, because I played that after Still Life, and it did not slow me down that much. 2 had a few that slowed me down a little bit more, but Talos Principle is on another level. Those definitely slowed me down. Because to me, the best puzzle game is one that really stumps you, and then if you look it up, then you either you re, well, no, I try not to look them up. It really stumps you, and then it takes me a long time to figure it out. Or if it's one where you did look it up, you see the answer, like, oh, I should have thought of that. Like you feel dumb for not figuring it out. The ones I don't like are there's just completely alien logic where you look it up and you're thinking, how would I have ever figured that out? Like, this is just the most abstract connection possible. That I don't like those so much. I like the ones where it's you just gotta buckle down and figure it out. Like you can do these things. This is what you need to do. Now figure it out. Those are the ones I like, where they kind of lay out the terms. Let's see. Saying Talos fails at explaining game mechanics. I don't really remember that, but I don't know. I just remember some of them really slowing me down. I guess the other ones I don't like. Actually, that's a game I'm basically ready to give up on. That has this issue, where the puzzles start out Attractio. I played some of that this month, where the puzzles are pretty decent, but then there's a Portal mod that did this too, where you figure out what you need to do, but you realize having to actually pulling this off is going to be so difficult. It may as well be like an NES a stereotypical NES difficulty platform, where it's like, good God, so they want me to jump here, throw this box over there, and then within a second and a half later, hit this button before, like, so it's like you see what they want you to do, but it's going to take you like 20 times or more to try to pull it off. I don't really have the patience for those. Was it Portal Prelude? I think that's one that was just loaded with that sort of thing where, okay, you want me to do this, but having to pull off that jump and then get this timing right, it's, I don't like having to deal with that. Yes, but if it's just a hard one, you figure, or if it's easy, yeah, if it's one where it's easy to execute, then that's fine because I those never went together that well for me with puzzles. But I guess when I say best, those are like as far as like which have the best puzzles, in my opinion. I mean, thematically, I think Puzzle Agent is easily my favorite. The Still Life is pretty solid too. I like that it's kind of a murder mystery aspect. Talos Principle, Talos Principle has like these sad vibes to it mixed in that it wasn't really my thing. I mean, it was well done. It's just not really what I'm into. So I'm saying Pandora's Box, Russ. Okay, well, I know I'm not aware of the game Pandora's Box. I know what Pandora's Box is, from Greek mythology. Okay, so somebody's saying Turing Test. I think I got a copy of that one on Steam when it went cheap. Okay, well, but yeah, those are the ones that stand out to me. There might be a few others, but I remember Talos Principle really slowed me down. That's sort of my test of a good puzzle game is how much does it just stop me dead in my tracks? Like if it just stops me for like a minute or two and then like, oh, okay, here, then it's okay. But if it's like stopping me for like a good 20 minutes, like where I'm just like trying to bend my brain as figure out how to pull it off, and then I end up doing it. Those are my favorite. I'd say Talos Principle, out of the ones I played, had the best puzzles, though the chat can kind of suggest some more if they have some. You haven't lived until you played the actual Pandora's Box from Greek mythology. Yeah, well, it would have plenty to show, Pandora's Box versus the box from Hellraiser. That sounds like a good versus battle there. Of the battle of inanimate objects. Oh yeah, somebody's mentioning The Witness. The Witness, I don't know. It was the Witness got a little more abstract than I like, with like trying to figure out like what the criteria was in the first place. Like, okay, to give you an easy, real simple example, there's something where there was one puzzle, I'm not remember the exact details, where it had to do with like how the shadows hit this grid and you're supposed to connect to it, except the shadows aren't laid in a exactly neat pattern so that you're sure, okay, does it want me to go on this side of the grid or this side? Like, it's like, perfect example. Have you ever done these damn CAPTCHAs where they want you to identify a traffic light or a boat, and then, press these buttons on the grid. It's like, and then there's like one part of the grid that's cutting into the corner. It's like, well, does this count or does it not? Because it's not really the meat of the picture. And it's just like, I don't even know what the criteria is. So I'm there kind of fumbling around if that's even trying to figure it out. I hate that crap. I like having it kind of laid out what they want from me. Okay, I haven't played Anti-Chamber, so maybe that's pretty good. Okay, so I haven't played Hypnospace Outlaw, though I'm aware of that one. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. There were, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at The Witness some more. Yeah, because The Witness had some of the, because like I remember Myst and Riven having some of that too. I haven't played the others yet, where the puzzle involves, like, you can walk right by it and not realize it. Where it if you have a really difficult puzzle that you have to kind of think outside the box, it's good to kind of contain the player so that they know they have to get out of that room or something, so that they know the answer's there somewhere. Whereas if you can wander around an entire island and like really what you did, you hit a switch and you have to go back and find something else that changed, you may never get out of there. So if your puzzle is really difficult, it's good to kind of let the player know up front, no, the answer's here, you just need to figure it out. Whereas if the answer's someplace else, then you better make your puzzle less challenging for that part of it, or really obvious, like, oh, you need like the key to unlock this door or something. You don't have the key yet. If you need to go someplace else, that sort of thing. So, okay, so more questions. Did you have any intrinsic motivation for almost joining law enforcement, or is it the least bad option? Yeah, it was that. Like by that point, I was more or less convinced I was never going to end up with a job I liked. So what I wanted, so my compromise was I at least wanted a job where I wasn't going to be bored. And the thing about law enforcement is you do not know how your day is gonna go. I mean, yeah, it could be extremely quiet, or might have some drunks you have to deal with. I mean, you could potentially have something more dangerous, but that unpredictability of it, I think, was what drew me towards it. That, like, well, you know, every job's gonna have plenty of things you don't like, but at least this one, you're gonna have something. So things are gonna happen. Things are gonna happen. So that was like the number one draw of it for me. It wasn't. I didn't. I think you can't really get a criminal justice degree and have many illusions about how the justice system works, because you realize it's the U.S. justice system. It's kind of like it's sort of the equivalent of like, it's like you have a sinking ship and you're trying to keep it together with duct tape. That's kind of how it operates. That it's like, well, let's just do what we can. You know, it's highly imperfect, a lot of problems with it, but it's like, what's the alternative? You know, to law enforcement or the justice system. So it's, you know, it. I mean, I guess maybe some people enter it more idealistic. I wasn't looking at it like that. Yeah, like one of the things they mentioned in criminal justice, of course, is how you can have different policing styles, where, like, if there's like a delinquent kid, like how do you deal with them? Like, one style is more just the pure kind of like by the book law and order stuff. It's like, fine, they're delinquent and they're out past the curfew or they're spray painting. Fine, arrest them. Whatever. They're breaking the law, arrest them. Another is to sort of like, you want to help this kid and, like, you know, kind of talk to them more. Maybe you try to get them involved in like a different program. And another is just a like problem neutralization thing. Like, you know, tell the kids, like, can you go home? Like, you know, are you really going to make me arrest you? I was thinking I would probably be that third kind, the kind of like, that just like, let's just resolve the problem for now. Like, we're probably not going to be fixing things in the long term or making a huge difference, but like at the same time, we don't necessarily need to like throw the book at the kid, but let's just like get them to stop it for now, you know, that sort of thing. And I was thinking that would have probably been my policing style, is to, I mean, if it escalated to like, you know, if they're pulling a knife on you or something, yeah, then crack down immediately. But, you know, just sort of, that's, well, yeah, it's like, yeah, like they asked me in a previous video chat, like my moral alignment, I said I was lazy good. That's kind of where I think I would be. But fortunately, I got lucky, and around that time, I ended up doing civil protection and won an award and money from it, and thought, wow, maybe I can do something with this. And it gradually evolved from there. And I'd rather be doing more kind of creative media stuff, law enforcement. But that was entirely my motivation. It's like, well, if I'm not going to like my job no matter what I do, then, because I didn't think a creative job was realistic. I mean, I wouldn't think I'd be able to survive doing something like that. Thankfully, the internet evolved around the same time I was really needing to make a job out of it, so I just got lucky. because the impression I got was, like in the film industry, for example, it seemed way more about networking with the right people than about like innate talent or, being able to do something. So much of it seemed to be about like who you know, who you can get in touch with, that sort of thing. And that's not really a strength of mine. So that's so yeah, having some film classes has actually discouraged me from getting a career in it. And it's just dumb luck I was able to kind of make videos. But yeah, that was definitely like the runner-up. Yeah, like another thing I was kind of considering might have been like a ranger somewhere. Not an army ranger, like just like a park ranger somewhere or something like that where I could be outdoors a lot. Though I like being outdoors, though I also, there's limits to it too. I'm not sure I'd want to be like outdoor all the time, all day, every day. So, I was also considering to see if there was like, I was thinking it might be an interesting experience to like do research work in the Arctic or something where I would just be like an intern or something, but just to kind of get the experience of like extreme environments, that sort of thing. But yeah, I really, well, even now, I still wanted a job where I wouldn't end up, I just didn't want to end up bored at the job I'm doing because that's what starts really getting to me on an existential level. Like, there's a real high chance you're not going to get a job you particularly like, but it's hugely important to not end up with a job you hate. Well, actually, PC repair I didn't mind that much. It's just I got the impression back then that was kind of a dwindling field that you probably weren't going to be able to make much of a career out of it unless you expanded to networking or all sorts of certifications. But I mean, maybe I could have gone. And at that point, it starts getting kind of less fun. Like I sort of liked the aspect of it that some of it was hands-on, building systems or taking it apart, and it seemed like the natural progression was to go more towards like software or networking. But yeah, all the PC repair jobs I had, I didn't hate those. Those, I mean, they were a job, so it wasn't so bad. So yeah, that's another. But I think I was just wanting something even more interesting, so that's what kind of drove me towards. Actually, I heard something I could relate to, though I still like making videos, but I heard it was that Jesse Ventura said that he tends to pursue something really hard and then just kind of moves along after it about every 4 years. And this is somebody who's been a Navy SEAL, an actor. I think was he mayor or governor? I think mayor. Wrestler. So he's moved through several different career fields, and I can kind of relate to that. Like that, you kind of want to keep things fresh and interesting, but our economic system generally doesn't reward that. They tend to reward you sticking with one thing and going as hard as you can on it. So, okay, I should keep moving on. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one. Do you have any retirement plans? And again, my first thought for this question was there was an ad, I think a year or two ago, where this is a really cynical one for shoes, where they said, you were never going to be able to retire, so why should your boots? I think it was for Timberland or something. I was thinking, man, one comment was saying they're really going after the millennial market with that one, Not really. This is a complicated question for me because on one hand, by the time I'm retirement age, I think a lot of things could change. I wouldn't I wouldn't count too much on like the plans that, like, if you're gonna make great plans for today, those may not be great plans in the future. I think, okay, I could be wrong on this, But I look at a lot of this as like, imagine making retirement plans in 1929. You know, that before, was it Black, was it Black Tuesday? Before the stock market crash in the beginning of the Great Depression. A lot of things that had held true for like a long time would just get thrown out the window. Yeah, I checked, but before this, because I saw this question, if you had bought a lot of stock in 1929, it would have taken 25 years for the stock market to hit that level again. So I kind of feel like we might be before some sort of major crash, although it gets more complicated because I think we had two moments like that already where one was definitely in March of 2020, and I think the other one was in December of 2018, where it looked like the stock market was about to take a nosedive. And then the Federal Reserve stepped in and propped things up. They propped things up to a big degree in 2020. Like, I still don't know what's going. Yeah, you're welcome to email me on this, rosswscott@gmail.com. If you think you know everything that's been going on with the Federal Reserve since the pandemic started, let me know, because I'm lost now. I know it has spent trillions of dollars buying corporate junk bonds. So that sounds a hell of a lot like we're propping it up. So we may not have a normal crash in the traditional sense, because if every time it looks like it's going to crash, the government just comes in and just everything it can to prop it up, well, then I guess it won't. But then other weird things are going to happen. Like that like I think right now we're entering like stagflation period. That's when you have like relatively, well, I don't think it's as high as it's going to get, but like increasing unemployment, like lower growth or reduction in growth, but increasing inflation. And I mean, I get if every time the stock market dips like in a major way, we're going to spend everything we can to try to keep it up or buy corporate junk bonds, then yeah, that probably will lead to inflation over time. And actually, I heard of a concept a couple weeks ago I hadn't heard before, where the stock market can, at least in theory, crash up. The way that works is, say over the course of a year, like the value on stocks goes up like 50%. It's like fantastic. Like things are just going through the roof. So like from January to December. So the stock market is only going up. But during that same time, let's say the currency had a lot of inflation and it's gone down to a third of its value. So it's like lost 2/3 of its value due to inflation. So by the numbers, the stock market has never been higher and it's never gone up. But since the value of currency has gone down, it's actually plummeted even though everything looks like it went up. So that's apparently what a crash up of the stock market looks like. Yeah, somebody has a good comment here. They're saying it's going to be robots taking more and more jobs. Yeah, there's so many things that are, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, I think the pandemic accelerated everything that we were all crashing. And so I think point I was getting at with all this, I think almost all retirement plans rely on the stock market. So if you think the stock market could crash or go into bad places in the future, what do you do? I mean, oh yeah, that was another thought I had. Like, apparently, like, well, this was kind of happening with here before now, but now it seems like everywhere, like real estate prices are going through the roof, right? So this is where I have no idea what's going to happen. On one hand, yeah, and you're having like a bunch of like finance firms that are like buying up a whole lot. Well, although I've heard mixed reports on how influential that aspect is, but real estate prices are going really high now. There's mania in a lot of different areas. So there's two trains of thought on this. One is that this is just a bubble and a mania, and it's going to crash at some point, and then they'll plummet again. So, maybe real estate wouldn't be a great investment right now. But the other, I mean, though you need money to have investment in real estate, uh, but the other is, well, let's say it does look like it's going to crash. And then the Federal Reserve says, whoa, look at all these companies like BlackRock or these big financial firms that are over leveraged buying all this property up that they're using to rent out. And they're going to crash, and that's going to cause a domino effect and bring down the rest of the economy. We cannot let that happen. Buy it up. Buy up all these bad loans and debts. So if the Federal Reserve comes to the rescue and saves all these giant corporations that are buying up everything, well, then maybe the value of homes don't go down, and they just keep going up, and it keeps propped up, and then we have this sort of, I was joking, it's sort of like neo-feudalism where, the lords own the land and and the serfs just kind of live on it and work it and pay their fealty, pay the, so maybe we're heading towards that. I have no idea. So I could see either one going on. So I'm in a complete fog as to where we're going. The one thing I do understand is none of this seems really stable. That's what I'll say. So I'm not sure what, and I think right now inflation is like 5% or something like that. So if you just have cash, then that's working against you. So the only thing, I don't know, I'm not sure what to do. I'm in kind of, the good news is I only have so much extra money that I only need to worry about this so much. So if you don't have, I do have some savings to write things out, but if you don't have, if your bank account has $30 in it, you don't really have to worry about any of this. These are problems beyond where you are right now. But so that's the good news is, I don't have to worry about massive losses because I don't have tons to begin with. But the two things I have heard, I get, if you don't know what you're doing with the stock market, because if you know what you're doing, I'm sure there's probably some safe havens that you could probably lean into. One is like with precious metals, which isn't really, although no, that could be, okay, here's two competing things. One, there's like precious metals like gold and silver, which you don't need a whole lot to get some silver. That's like, what, $25, $30 an ounce. So maybe that could be, but you do pay for overhead on that, for buying it and then reselling it later. But that's, if you think the overhead on that, it's going to be in the long term less than inflation, then that might make sense. But then you have to store it, so that's not, that's a security risk then. And then this is a complete wild card, so I'm not, in my eyes, so I'm not advocating this, but cryptocurrency can also be a possible option. That's why I said it's kind of competing, because I've heard things that apparently, as cryptocurrency does better, that actually can devalue gold somewhat because cryptocurrency is more convenient, and then you have the security factor. So that way, some people who would be buying gold might put it more with cryptocurrency. Though I doubt precious metals are going completely out of style. But the thing is, with cryptocurrency, I have no idea. Because cryptocurrency is something where I could see it being immensely valuable in the future or be almost worthless. I think cryptocurrency as a medium is not going away. However, which one I cannot predict. So it's kind of like you can be certain social media is not going away, but maybe you're not sure if MySpace is going to be the winner in the long term, in the 90s. It's like that. With stuff like Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever. So I think the demand for a cryptocurrency is not going to disappear. I think it fulfills functions that a lot of financial people want. But which one, I'm totally not the right person to ask about that. I mean, it could all crash and burn, then something else emerges, you know? So, uh, those are the options to, yeah, I mean, you can email me on this too if you think you have good advice, but I think I could see in the financial world and how retirement works, things that have been true for generations may not be true in the next decade or two, you know? So I have no idea what's going on with that. I don't have stocks. Maybe I should. If we have a crash, then I'll probably get some stocks. Because yeah, again, like look at the stock markets like just before the Great Depression. See, right now the stock market just keeps going up and up and up and up and up. That's not really how it works. I mean, but again, if the Federal Reserve rushes in to prop it up every time it possibly can, and guess what? The U.S. dollar is the world reserve currency, which carries a lot of weight. Then I have no idea how this works. This is like I'm in a complete fog. So yeah, I really don't know what. Feel free to offer advice to me on this if you understand all these dynamics I brought up. If you're just following some like conventional wisdom, like, oh, time in the market beats timing in the market. Well, yeah, that's been true for decades. That may not be true in the future, you know? So, yeah, I don't know. So yeah, my retirement plans are, yeah, my most solid retirement plans are to keep doing my best, trying my best to do right by you guys. And then maybe if things ever get desperate, somebody out there has like a farm I can stay on, like a guest shack with or something. So yeah, that's probably my best retirement plan, is to try to like, maybe somebody out there has some property out in the middle of nowhere that it's just empty. It's just taking up space, and they'd be fine if I wanted to stay there. So I think that's my best bet at the moment, because that'll probably be not so affected by the market. Okay. Oh yeah, this is a good question. How do you feel about the keyboard in modern gaming? Is it fine as is, or should there be something made specifically for gaming to replace it? Oh no, definitely we should have something better. Now, I'm not exactly sure what, this is kind of like the GUI video, and I know even less about this, where I'm not exactly sure what, but for sure it could be better. The keyboard, the keyboard is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like when you have like a mutation, and this is not the best way, it's just how things happen to play out. I think there's a word for that. I'm drawing a blank though. That's how I see the keyboard. But the first thing I think of is that peripheral. I think I might have mentioned this in one of the videos, the claw. Yeah, type in the claw peripheral. You'll see a picture of it. Or here, I'll do it. Maybe I'll put this in the description. And it, yeah, here we go. This thing was awesome, except it broke after 2 weeks. So if the damn thing didn't break, then I would have used this for a lot of games. It had a little bit of a learning curve, but I was feeling myself like getting more efficient, and it felt good. Yeah, here we go. Okay, there's a link to it, what it looked like. It had fantastic ergonomics. And see, the way it worked is those buttons you see there, they're not just buttons. Each one can kind of be whatever you want it to be. And also, like, you can also kind of combo them up. It's like one of the mice, I think Rocat has an easy shift button, where you, like you see those 4 thumb buttons on the side. Let's say you wanted to make one of them like a function button. So when you hold that down, all the other buttons get assigned to new functions. Or maybe you could have like combos and stuff like that. It was great. But the build quality was garbage. So we would need something that's actually built to last. Um, so yeah, that's what I would use as the starting point for better peripherals. Like, yeah, we could absolutely do better than the keyboard. The keyboard, yeah, okay, I'll mention this in the GUI follow up, but somebody pointed out a contradiction I had, and they were completely right. Where I was kind of, well, what was the contradiction? That I didn't. Oh, geez, now I forgot. But it was something about me, how I didn't like hotkeys, but I was defending like just mouse mouse gestures or something. It's a little more complicated. I forget. Anyway, I did make a contradiction, and that was a mistake. And I realized, no, I actually am okay with hotkeys. What I don't, oh yeah, that was it. Having to learn hotkeys, but being kind of against learning hotkeys, but in favor of learning like mouse gestures. So yeah, that is kind of a contradiction, though there's a little more to it. But I realized what I hated wasn't actually hotkeys. It's what I hated were the default ergonomics of the damn keyboard. I have no problem with the ergonomics of the keyboard for typing. If I'm just typing emails, or the keypad's pretty good for number entry, yeah, that's fine. It's when you have to do like Control F or Control I and then F6 or something. That's what I hated. So I'm actually very warm to the idea of a bunch of hotkeys, but I want a separate pad entirely, like that's designed just for hotkeys. And you could maybe do that dual function thing. So yeah, what I hated was the ergonomics of it. So the keyboard's not the worst it could possibly be, but there's a lot of room for improvement. And yeah, I mean, like also you'd want analog controls. I mean, you can get analog keyboards, but analog keyboards aren't really that great for just everything else, I wouldn't think, because most of the time, just, binary functions are fine. The clickety-clack for typing, that's great. But, if you're playing a game where you want careful aiming and you want like precise movement, that's the keyboard. It's digital, it's on or off. Whereas you kind of do want analog movement for that. So yeah, I would use the claw as a starting point. I think there's some Kickstarter project that's something similar to this, but it looked kind of freaky, and it looked like it might break too. So I kind of wanted to see if it's going to withstand the test of time. I forget the name of it. But yeah, see, the thing is, even gamepads, I think gamepads are really good for certain kinds of games. I think they're objectively not great for anything involving aiming or precision move or like really precision movement. I mean, there have been tests like that before where I think there was a famous video where this guy was really talking up, somebody linked it to me, talking up gamepad, saying he's just as good as a mouse aiming. So it escalated to the point where these two guys had a one-on-one, and the guy with mouse aiming completely obliterated the person with the gamepad. So, however, if it's like a 2D platformer, or say like a 1v1 fighting game, I think gamepad's pretty great ergonomics. So, yeah, I mean, it can vary, but keyboard, I'm not sure wins at much of anything. I mean, like, let's say, okay, like that claw thing. See, that might not be great for like a real complex game, like an MMO or strategy or 4X game. Let's say you need a lot of function keys. Well, then I think then the keyboard might be okay for games specifically. My issue with the function keys is so many of them are what I would call like stake territory. If you have like a new program and you can't just assign all those functions, because a lot of them are already taken by Windows or another program or something like F5 or F10 or F11 or something. Those are already claimed by some other programs, Windows functions. So you kind of want something new that can be assigned like per application. I mean, I don't know. So I kind of, in the future, well, I don't know if I'm going to have a gaming peripheral anytime soon. But I really want to get like a keypad so I can just enter in a lot more functions and then in a smart way too. So the same button if I'm in a web browser does something different if I'm in a game or if I'm in like a video editor, to kind of get double, triple duty out of it and just have good detection software for when which program is active. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna respond to this. Somebody's saying they can't imagine esports without a keyboard. StarCraft 2 would be impossible without all those buttons. Yes. So something like, well, actually, again, with the claw thing, you got to look at that. That's really like 20 keys if you want it. And if you just look, you could develop the muscle memory pretty fast. Like click, so you don't even have to move your hand like with these. You don't have to move around with like this stretch movement, because I imagine a StarCraft player, they want their hand on the mouse at all times. So what they're going to need to do is activate as many different functions as they need. I don't know, probably a couple dozen, with minimum amount of movement for their left hand. So if you can kind of like, yeah, so if you have like 4 function keys and there's like 1 to 2 for each finger. Let's see, how many are there on the claw? I'm seeing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it looks like about 6. They have 2 for the index finger. So yeah, that if you made all those thumb buttons, that's just 4 thumb functions. If you made all of those function keys, then you have access to 24 keys right off the bat. Or no, not just 24, 24 macros. Yeah, somebody already did before me. So, but you could do that more, figure out like what's optimal ergonomics so you're not hitting the wrong key. Or maybe you could have like a scroll wheel as part of and there's also, well, no, the scroll wheel's on the mouse. You don't need that. I think there's I don't know what would be best. I know if the claw was a sturdy product, I'd be using it right now. So and I think there's room for even more improvement. So we could totally do better. Not saying we will, but yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, we don't have there's not enough imagination in a lot of products. And the thing is, it's not like imagination for its own sake, though I think imagination for its own sake serves a very useful research and development purpose for companies that can afford that. But this is also stuff like the default solution bugs me so much, it forces my brain to start imagining things. So that's why I don't necessarily know what's best or what should be implemented, but I can tell we can do better than what we have now. So. Let's see. Oh, somebody's saying they mean to do a video series, but they cannot write scripts for the life. I mean, their improv isn't very good. Do you have any tips on script writing? And they want me to say happy birthday. If I do it for you, I gotta do that for everybody, though. I guarantee it's somebody's birthday every time I do this. Okay, tips for script writing. Well, I don't have many. I mean, there's probably a lot written on this already, but one tactic I use that I would recommend, this is more for like plot-based things. Well, I do use this in Game Dungeon also, is when I'm working on a video, there are some scenes or some lines or points or ideas or something that I know I want in there. Like there's no way I'm going to go through this and not mention that. However, those can usually be kind of spread around. Like one might be right at the end or more towards the beginning or a couple in the middle. So you might want to kind of maybe just make notes on stuff lines or scenes or whatever you want in that video. And then maybe start thinking about like kind of filling in the gaps in between those. Okay, well, how do I get from point A to point H? It's like, And then you maybe think of some other points that, well, okay, maybe if this happened in between these 2 points, that would make sense. That would be a good thing to have there, something like that. So it would, that's the only obvious tip I have. I guess the other, I mean, if you don't have any ideas for a script, maybe you shouldn't be into script writing, I guess. But if you have the ideas and just cannot figure out how to make order out of this, then that's a much more approachable problem. But yeah, that's one out, and that gives you, that's also a morale boost too, in the sense that you feel like you're very slowly building a framework, and that kind of gives you more confidence to kind of put more pieces together, you know, or at least it does in my brain. Anyway, so. Okay, let's see, what's next? Oh, yeah, somebody's asking about the Life is Strange music recommendations. Did you get any suggestions that I enjoyed? I still need to go through a whole lot of them. My plan is to have that be in the next follow-up episode, whenever that is. Hopefully this year, though I don't want to promise that, because I'm doing some multiple videos that are, you'll see why. You'll see why I don't want to promise that once you see everything that's coming out this year. But yeah, somebody's actually going to help me with that. We're going to go through the emails and kind of make like a spreadsheet of like which bands are recommended or which songs stand out, and like to kind of look for the trends of it. What video game would you be able to play repeatedly for the longest time before getting bored? Yeah, this is tough. I mean, it's like, I mean, because there's two. I actually saw this earlier and I misread it, and I thought that like which game would like have the most replay value, and I realized that that's not what it was asking, because I would still get. I think that they asked me this before, if I was like on a deserted island, you know, what game would I want? Because I feel like almost any game you're gonna get tired of it eventually. So I would want something with like the maximum amount of replay value, and what I landed on was. It's almost like a third-party utility thing, Forge, where you basically can play Magic the Gathering just with every card against any combination for anything. And the thing is, that's not like the greatest game. However, for me, that would have some of the maximum replay value, because there's limitless strategies and combinations, and plus there's something like I think there's well over 10,000 cards at this point. So I would see a lot of variety in these different cards and worlds and creatures and quotes and stuff to kind of have a lot of stuff to keep it fresh. However, that's not going to be like the number one game experience. And you know what? I would probably get bored of, I would probably get bored of playing that too. I mean, the games that I can play for the longest time that I don't get bored are ones that just kind of keep, I don't even know how to put this, just kind of keep upping things and keep me engrossed in it for however they do that. I mean, I'm thinking the last one that really did that for me, I think, was Subnautica. They Are Billions did it for me for a while, but like towards the end, it's like some of those maps are starting to feel like a bit of a grind. So I mean, They Are Billions I enjoyed a lot, but like towards the end, it was starting to wear out its welcome a little bit with just how much they wanted you to do per map. Subnautica kept the pacing pretty great the entire way, but it's like you keep unlocking new territory and you keep seeing more wonders to see. So I think that's, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I have like a great answer for it. I mean, mostly how I like to do things is kind of play through the game, and then if I really enjoyed it or want to play it a different way, I might replay it. But mostly I like to move on to something else. And then maybe years in the future, I want to go back and replay it to it's kind of fresh in my memory. So, if it's kind of faded in my memory. Yeah, since last chat, I've beaten Unreal in VR. And now I'm on the expansion, Return to Napoli. And I realized it's like, wow, I remember almost nothing about this expansion. I played it, but I remember like one or two moments, and that's it. I'm thinking like it's I'm going through these canyons. I'm thinking, wow, this is really cool, but it's like, wow, this is a really fresh experience for me because I just don't remember this. Even Kingpin, I've forgotten a lot of parts of, but I remembered more of Kingpin, but not. Yeah, I've been playing that in VR, so it's given me the wow factor in multiple ways. So. But yeah, I don't know if I don't have a great answer, and you know what? I don't need to because there are so many games now that you're. I feel like unless your tastes are very specific and kind of narrow, you're not going to run out. I mean, you might take some time to find out what you're interested in, but let's see. I didn't see this one earlier. YouTubers are starting to enter the boxing ring and fight other YouTubers and minor celebrities more and more. What other game YouTubers or creators would you like to box, think you could beat, or would absolutely hate to face in the ring? I have no idea. I mean, I only know so many YouTubers, and I'm mostly good terms with them. Let's see. Answers can be someone you want to box for fun, not necessarily because you want to hurt them. Okay, I think yeah, I mean, I don't really have experience boxing. This makes me think of. I think it's probably older than that, but for gaming, I think the person who started this trend was Uwe Boll, who he was sick of his critics, and so he challenged people to box him, and he got so many responses that, like, I think it became obvious he was just kind of cherry picking who he went up against, so that he wouldn't get his ass kicked. Because I'm sure there were plenty of people willing to. I'm sure there were like some real bruisers willing to box Uwe Boll. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like my only advantage would be speed, and that, I mean, in boxing, your weight is a lot of it. I have no experience with it, so I wouldn't be very good at it. But I guess one thing for fighting, the thing I'm good at probably wouldn't even be legal in boxing, which is kind of like hurling myself into the opponent, basically. You know, just kind of like launching myself like I'm a missile to kind of crash into them. And because my leg strength is quite strong, so I can, yeah, like when I was doing cross country, they put us on this machine at a gym, so we saw how much we could lift. The maximum I was able to lift with my legs was, I mean, this is with both legs together, was 720 pounds. So I wouldn't want to do that again. I was kind of feeling it in my back when I was pushing it out of that machine. So I have a lot of leg force, but that doesn't really help me much at all in boxing. So let's see. And I'm quick and maneuverable, but that would help, but only so much. Like if somebody's much more proficient, if they're a heavier weight class or they're much more proficient in boxing, that may not mean much. And the other thing is, I don't know lots of YouTubers either. Although one person came to mind for entertainment value. I don't think either of us would want to like really hurt the other, but it would be I get the feeling it could be an awkward, sloppy fight that would have maximum entertainment value. One that came to mind was the internet comment etiquette guy? Yeah, Big Money Salvia. I think he'd be a heavier weight class than me, but my wily style, I think we would both give it our all, and it would be very awkward and probably be an entertaining fight. So, like, and we wouldn't want to be hurt. I don't think we'd really want. I think we're both. Well, yeah. Apparently, I was on his recommended list, so he's probably watched something of mine. So, I think it would be a fun fight. You know, so no bitterness there. Just no bitterness, just bruises. That's somebody that came to mind. I mean, for other people, I feel like it might be more. I don't even know what Civi 11 looks like exactly, aside from that portrait shot they show of him. So boxing is probably 2/3 footwork, they're saying. Well, okay, but I'm not an experienced boxer. I mean, I can certainly move quickly and have high agility, but if I don't know what I'm doing, I mean, then I could dodge a couple punches probably, but yeah, I mean, I could easily get knocked over from boxing. So yeah. Okay, so if somebody said if you both wore Michelin suits or something, well, that'd be interesting. Because, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was gonna say maybe I could fight Tom, but I think Tom would if we were in big Michelin suits fighting each other, or those like comically oversized gloves. I've seen those before. I think Tom might just break down laughing, so it wouldn't be much. It wouldn't be much of a fight. Whereas I feel like yeah, Eric from Internet Comment, I feel like we both just would give it 100%, and it would just be a mess. Although I don't know, maybe he has boxed before, in which case I'd be dead meat. So, because I mean he's definitely stockier than I am, so which counts for a lot in boxing. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I was trying to think of a YouTuber who, like, I feel like would have the drive as strong as I do to like go to just go at it, and he's who came to mind. Like I feel so it would make for interesting clash. What if chess boxing? I was good at chess when I was a kid. I haven't played in forever though. I don't even know how that works. Like, I mean, because what if you just beat the crap out of the person in the boxing ring, but they beat you at chess? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I've never. Yeah, I guess I've never boxed before. So okay, let's see. Yeah. I've never boxed. Majority of my strength is in my legs. I'm kind of a frog build. Yeah, I would. You know what would be? I would be better. What would be much more my speed would be like what those things where they throw you through obstacle courses, like you know the things are rotating. You have to balance or go on swings or nets, or try and get knocked off platform. That's something I would be much more better at, I think. Yeah, well, basically the sort of thing that Fall Guys was inspired from. You know, so yeah, the obstacle or training courses that meshes with my brain so much better because I can climb, I can jump, I can move around or try to keep my balance, that sort of thing. Yeah, somebody's saying Ninja Warrior. I, Again, I don't know how good I'd be at the combat portion, but of it. But you know, if it's like a big obstacle course, I would totally be down for attempting that. So. Yes, I say Ross is bulk. No, I'm more Prince of Persia kind of build. You know, where can't do the wall run because I'm pretty sure that's physically impossible. But the way they do it, uh, but yeah, swinging on things, climbing, jumping, being fast. Yeah, that's the sort of stuff I can do. So okay, let's see. Okay, we've gotten to food questions, so I'm taking this as my cue to just start skipping the ones I don't have great answers for. And yeah, I'm sure that there are foods that are popular or common in Poland that aren't common in the U.S. I think like sauerkraut's much more common here, and there's variations of it. Yeah, there's something called vigos. Kefir is much more common. Yeah, there's a lot of different foods that are more common in Poland that aren't in the U.S. Okay, I'll answer this since this got several votes. I actually haven't played Dishonored, the game. I tried playing some of it, but it didn't really mesh with me. And I ended up just watching a playthrough of it. Although even then I skipped parts of that. What I think what got to me, okay, everybody's gonna think it's like the most shallow thing, but it really affects whether I want to play a game or not. I think it's the aesthetics of it. And it's not like the style. I think it's actually the lighting. Because that game has a whole lot of yellow and teal in it. And it just gives me this kind of blah feeling when the way a lot of scenes looked in that. I mean, like the models and the buildings and everything, those all look pretty cool. But it's just the lighting of it just gave me this mood I didn't like. So it made me kind of not want to play the game. And yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna. I'm sure some people are listening to this like thinking, "What?" You know, like. But no, if I don't like the aesthetics of it, and it's not even like the art design. It was just like the lighting and the color choice that kind of just made me not really like it. So yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily even yellow because I've seen like if it's like really bright and sunny and it's done well, then I don't mind that at all. Like I'm trying to think. Well, I feel like Serious Sam 2 had a lot of bright and sunny portions, but it's like a different shade of yellow that throws me off, you know? Or the original Serious Sam had a lot of bright and sunny portions, you know? And that kind of that kind of desert lighting sort of worked for that, but I don't know. I just found it. I found that it just it gave me a mood I didn't like. So okay, I'm gonna skip some more questions that I don't have obvious answers to. Every time I keep trying to make this go faster, and it seems to be failing. But so far I haven't. So far it hasn't spun out of control yet. Last time it was like 3. It was like it was close to 4 hours last time. Well, this is a great question. Any recent "what am I doing with my life" moments, and how do you cope with them? Asking for a friend working in the creative field. Not lately. I feel like I've. Okay, I feel like now that I'm starting to actually experience game worlds the way in VR, so that I'm actually there. I feel like this is it. I've reached the nexus, you know. So now I just need to make everything else fall into place. You know, get more videos out, get the movie made, like try to fight the games being destroyed as hard as I can, and you know, just kind of get around to other goals. So, but yeah, I've definitely have had those before. I don't know if for general advice, I guess what this may or may not work for people. What I would do if, like I was thinking in the past, like for having like what am I doing with my life moments, just sort of. And there's a bug here. I've got to kill it. Hold on. Okay, I got it. Wash my hands after this. What I would say is what? Yeah, just sort of stop for a minute and just like start imagining things. Like think about what you'd want to do. Like, and then maybe like kind of see, okay, are some of these realistic or some of these complete fantasy? Or maybe for the ones that are fantasy, maybe we could scale it down to something that's like more realistic that you'd like. So, I mean, like maybe make a list of like things you'd either want to accomplish or things you'd like, let's say you're going 10, 20 years in the future. What would you want to be doing? You know, that sort of thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to be career or, yeah, Starship Troopers theme. There you go. Yeah, I could relate a lot to parts of Starship Troopers. I really don't have love for bugs. I mean, I don't seek them out to kill them, but I mean, they're on my turf now, so sorry. You know, they can stay in the forest, and that's all right. You know, but or the fields or everywhere, I guess. But But yeah, just kind of like just make a list of like things you'd want to be doing. You know, it doesn't have to be in your career even. Like I enjoy mini golf, you know, like I would like to play in a really exotic mini golf course with lots of statues and loops so it could be simple stuff like that. And just maybe that kind of gets your brain uh working. Maybe once you see a list of it, you realize there's some things on there like, oh man, I have to do this. So then you start working backwards, or like, okay, what sort of situation, like with me or the movie, like what sort of situation would I have to be in order to make this happen? Okay, what sort of situations lead to that? It's like, okay, well maybe, so start working backwards to kind of form a plan for it. And I think that'll probably help, you know. So if what you're doing at the moment may not help with any of that, but then it can at least get your mind going in a direction thinking, okay, well, maybe I should start transitioning to this kind of job, or maybe I should spend more time during the week on this thing so I can learn this, which might lead to this activity, that sort of thing. But yeah, like maybe you want to learn how to play guitar or something, or it can be anything, but yeah, I mean, just yeah, make a list of things you want to start doing. You know, it's funny. They're not my favorite thing in the world, but I would not underestimate the power of lists. I have multiple lists on my computer. I've actually arranged my GUI so I have really easy access to them. Yeah, in fact, I have like it's not exactly a to-do list. It's like a to-do list slash notes I want to write down immediately thing where I can just like hit a button on the UI. Actually, I'm going to streamline it even more. Where sometimes I'll just write down things like that I should maybe work on today. Other times it's like, oh wow, this link has information I really want to follow up on. I'm just going to copy and paste it there. Or sometimes when I'm doing the video chats, I realize things I need to put in the notes. I'll just put it there. So, and the thing is, I don't always clean it up. So it's God knows how long it is by now. So, yeah, just focusing on things that have meaning or significance to you, and then working backwards and figuring out which of these you most want to do, how you might accomplish them. And maybe others, they're not like the number one thing, but they're like 100 times easier to achieve. Like, so maybe you can kind of do those first, you know, or something like that. So yeah, and if your life is currently not heading in the direction of any of those things, then maybe think of like, you know, small steps you can take towards getting towards something that's more in a direction you think you want to be in. So, what are your thoughts on EVE Online and its anarcho-capitalist economy? Well, I only know so much about EVE. I tend to read stories about it when like big battles ensue, or there's these massive betrayals. It certainly makes for good entertainment. There's a lot of wars. Yeah, if it's an indicator of anarcho-capitalism, then there sure are a lot of wars that take place. So, I mean, it's interesting having it like just the kind of no holds barred thing and letting the players manage things. EVE Online is one of those things where that's been on like my to playlist forever. I'm never gonna play EVE Online the way it's meant to be played. You know, like getting more powerful and like joining a faction and like making money, that sort of thing. Whereas I'm hoping I can get past the learning curve enough to I would just want to make a tour of it. Like, you know, like, okay, I'll see all the space stations, see any interesting space space phenomena, or, you know, basically just have the EVE tour. And like, I think that's I think that's as deep as I'd want to go for a game like EVE. Like the gameplay doesn't really seem like my kind of thing, but I like the big giant space universe with lots of stuff in it. So I want to see that part. I can probably skip all the rest for my taste. So it's it has cool music that I've heard too from some of it. And yeah, now there's like an alien invasion. So I'm totally content to like just read about the stories that come out of it, and would like to see more of that. But and I would like to see the tour of anything cool to see. Like I would want to see all the cool looking space stations, any cool space phenomena. I guess that might be it, you know, and that'll probably be about it. So, yeah, I don't know a lot of the details of it other than just people form their own factions or corporations and they just kind of go at it. So, who do you think has a stronger work ethic, Construction Bob or Contraption Zach? I think it's a little uneven. Like, I think it's kind of like, it's almost like AC versus DC current. Contraption Zach could be DC current. I think Zach is going to be your more dependable, reliable, good worker, great work ethic. It is going to just, he's going to be a guy you can rely on. It's going to be great. Whereas I feel like Construction Bob, he might be more uneven, but he will rise to the occasion and do the job nobody else will, and will, like, if the fate of the world depends on him, I think I'd probably want Construction Bob more. You know, so he's going to dive down that hole straight into hell, you know, and jump his way to bounce away from Satan. So, yeah, it's uneven. Like, whereas day to day, if you need somebody more dependable, I think I'd want Zach. You know, but if in our time of need, then Construction Bob would hit the high. No, you know. Okay, I'm skipping some more questions. Oh, okay. They're saying I did not know this. Apparently, Bethesda is releasing another version of Skyrim on the 10th anniversary. What are your thoughts on constantly re-releasing the same game on different platforms with minimal differences? I'm surprised companies can get away with it. Though, yeah, I guess what I'm surprised by is that one, they can get away with it, or if they can get away with it, why isn't every company doing that? I mean, I don't really like it, but I mean, if it's, and then there's apparently Todd Howard's excuses, they'll keep doing it if we'll keep buying it. And yeah, that's how businesses operate. I mean, it doesn't create great, it doesn't create a great impression. And it probably creates problems for modders having like all these different versions out there. And I have a friend who's a big Skyrim fan, and he really does not like what was it, the first anniversary edition? What was the first big update they had? Because there was Skyrim, then there was the expansions, then there was like the Legendary edition, I think, that had all the expansions, and then there was like the revamped one. Okay, special edition, I guess. Somebody's saying that in the chat. I thought it was called Anniversary, but maybe not. Okay, so special edition. And he pointed out how they added like this subtle blur to everything in the special edition. And I saw some screenshots. I'm like, oh, wow, he's right. So, yeah, that would suck. But, though I kind of can't fault Bethesda. Okay, somebody's saying it was with a new engine. I kind of can't fault Bethesda for pushing for a new engine. Bethesda especially has kind of a pass on that yeah, this engine's better, so you should use this. Yeah, okay, I can see where they might want that. So yeah, well, VR Sky. I kind of wish more companies would do this. VR Skyrim probably has like a real minimum of changes as far as workload compared to creating the whole damn game. But at the same time, that's a target audience of people who are really going to want to buy that version of it. So yes, there is work, but it's nothing compared to making the game itself, compared to making a new game. And if the VR community is like, hell yeah, now we have a VR edition and go for it, then yeah, it kind of makes sense. That one's a little more win-win, even though it's a little cheap what they're doing. Because plenty of games just, if you're making the game from scratch, sometimes adding VR support is not a lot of effort. Some games just include it. Yeah, in fact, I got to figure out how to do that. One of the games I tried to play this month, but I have a GOG copy. When I launched it, every single time it would immediately open Steam VR and start up mixed reality for me. Even though it's the GOG copy, it was it Battlefleet Gothica or Battlefleet Gothic for the Warhammer strategy game. I got to figure out how I can disable that. I mean, yeah, I could unplug the headset, but that's kind of a pain. I've heard there's a command -no HMD that did not work. So I'm trying to see if there's another workaround, but I kind of don't want to play that in VR to start off. I mean, a strategy game, I kind of want to really... Strategy games in general, I don't think are going to be great picks for VR. I mean, you can play them, but they're not or going to be what draw me in, and that's a genre I think I actually would want the extra resolution on to see all the details. But yeah, if you have somebody saying VR is a mainstream, it isn't, but the required changes to make a game VR and resell it to people, even for the market, even for as small a market as VR is, would probably still be worth it. Because although Vorpex is like the killer app for me because I don't get as sick in that. But some people are going to want the absolute full VR. And if you want absolute full VR, Vorpex probably isn't going to cut it. Yeah, Vorpex is not as immersive as VR, as native VR. However, in my opinion, if you do it right, it's about 90% as immersive. And if it's 90% as immersive and I don't get sick for a long time, then that's a home run for me. So, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I don't have strong thoughts about it because, yeah, I guess my thoughts on re-releases are I kind of don't care, or if I haven't played the game, then I'll think, okay, well, cool, maybe I'll play the newer one. Although sometimes the newer one isn't as good, or it's a complete side grade, and that kind of sucks. And what I also don't like is when it gets a whole lot of publicity. It's like, all right, mention it once, then that's it. I don't need to hear about it again. Like PC Gamer must have had like a dozen articles on like Mass Effect Remastered. It's like, okay, fine. They probably, improve the textures or something a little bit? I mean, what's the big upgrade? Or a couple tweaks, fine. Have an article on that. Then I don't need to keep seeing this because it's like, God, like, this is a game people are aware of. I'd rather hear about games I'm not aware of or interesting stories from other games, that sort of thing, you know? So yeah, as long as I don't get swamped with media about it, I don't care, but then it gets kind of annoying. Okay, they're saying it has several improvements for the first Mass Effect. Okay, but 2 and 3 are basically better textures. I mean, yeah, fine. It's newsworthy that they're doing that, but then that's it. You know, you don't need to keep beating that drum, I think. But yeah, it sucks. Oh yeah, here, let me ask the chat. Like one of these, I saw a comparison video for the game Sleeping Dogs. It looked like the original it was a side grade, but it looked like the original kind of looked better overall with the aesthetics compared to the definitive edition. If anybody in the chat's played both of them, like let me know what you think. Or yeah, when I was looking at Dark Souls, it was kind of a side grade. Like some things are better, some things are worse between the Prepare to Die edition and the, Jesus, is that the original one for PC or the newer one? So yeah, I mean, or I mentioned in the Deus Ex video or the Human Revolution video, I think. Like I never played. I played the original. I never played the remake. The remake of Fable. like, they looked awful. I mean, they were going for like this gritty brown tinting, and then I mean, that was the wrong game to bring in that kind of gritty feel to it. I mean, the original had like this colorful kind of storybook feel to it, which makes a hell of a lot more sense for Fable. So, oh, okay, somebody's saying the Resident Evil 1 remake on GameCube looks better than the PC version. Okay, well, good to know. Let's see. Okay, someone's saying they made the combat and vehicle stuff better in Mass Effect 1. I don't remember huge problems. Oh yeah, good point. They didn't even remake Fable 2. They don't even need to remake Fable 2. How about just release it as is, just with like modern resolution support and controls on PC? You'll get sales immediately. I mean, well, that's kind of what was it? Dead Rising was. Dead Rising looked like, I mean, maybe there were some improvements I was unaware of, but it just kind of looked like the Xbox 360 version, except for PC. So you can run it, you know, the resolution you want, and it's on PC now. And I was fine with that, you know? If they just want to port the game, that's fine, you know? I think what people don't like, if you're just doing a pure port and it has basic functionality, I don't think you're going to see a lot of hate from the PC community. You might see from some game journalists who can be kind of snobbish sometimes. I think what people don't like is when like you can't remap the controls, or like the resolution's locked, or it's still locked to 30 frames a second. So it's like, you know, come on, we can't meet a few minimum standards, that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, people are talking about the Fable 2. Uh, yeah, it actually took some time to make that image on the game follow-up episode where, you know, when I was ranting about Microsoft, and I show that tear of all those titles where it's like we had titles of a series that were on PC, then they became Xbox exclusives, and then much later they came back to PC. It really did arrange itself like it was just like this big tear in gaming, where Microsoft was making all these Xbox exclusives and having contracts to keep them off the PC. So it's so backwards. But yeah, I'm totally fine. Look, yeah, I mean, if anyone influential is watching this, feel free to spread the word. As a gamer, I am totally fine with just a high quality port, you know. So they don't have to improve anything with the original textures or models or anything. It's just, but as long as it just runs reasonably well, fine. Give us a port of these like previously exclusive games. I don't think you're gonna hear complaints, you know, or you'll hear complaints, but then you'll still get sales that justify the port. You know, you'll hear complaints from people who are gonna complain. Oh man, there's a great Penny Arcade comic about that sort of thing, but about video game reviewers complaining just because they can almost. I mean, sometimes it's justified, but I've seen cases where it's like, this is what we're complaining about, you know. That's actually part of the reason I wanted to stay so narrow in my focus with games as a service, because it's easy to stray off into things that would be nice, or this is kind of a middling issue. It's like, no, let's just stay so totally focused. The games are being destroyed. They're being destroyed. Like, let's not move on to the next topic. They're being destroyed. And it's just hard to, I don't see how you justify that if you care about games at all, you know? So that's why I didn't want to veer off into too much else on that topic, because then people are arguing about that other topic and it's lost focus on the games being destroyed. So Yeah, okay. Somebody's saying, I've never heard of this game. Metal Wolf Chaos PC port is a godsend. It's just the game on PC and it's great. Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially if it's a game that's been out for like 10 years or more. You know, we're not expecting first rate if it's just the game and we missed it and now it's on our platform, you're going to get sales, you know? So there's plenty of games I'd like to see that from. I'd like the original Forza Horizon to be on PC. That they wouldn't have to update a thing, just make it run decently on PC, you know? Which I realize that can be complicated, especially for older, like what was it? The Xbox 360, I think, had like, didn't have like a power PC processor, and then like the PlayStation 3 had, was it the cell processor, and I heard that could be kind of a nightmare to write code for. So I can understand if it's not that easy, but you'd think that, well, yeah, no. I was going to say you'd think the damn companies could have emulators, but I guess that's not in their interest. Okay. So it's saying they found out Microsoft banned Xbox Live players from joining self-hosted servers in games such as Astroneer. I hadn't heard of that. I'm not sure exactly what that means, if it means they banned them just from hosting those servers or just ban their whole account. My conclusion is similar, is that console makers generally have no respect whatsoever for your rights. I mean, I argue a lot of PC game makers don't either. It's just that on the PC, you have more options to keep them from stopping you. So it's, you know, in the long term, I kind of feel like emulation is the answer to a whole lot of things. So, I mean, there are people playing, probably not that many, but maybe. The first Dead Game News episode I think I did, I mentioned that for the PlayStation 2, like Sony shut down the network, but it was still, that wasn't really a full dead game situation because people were emulating the PlayStation 2 like on PC, or like emulating a network as sort of like a translation layer between on PC between the PlayStation 2, so people were able to play the PlayStation 2 games online even though Sony killed it. So yeah, it's, yeah, it's probably obvious to anybody who's watched a lot of these. I'm hugely in favor of being able to run your damn game, you know, even better if it could be a better experience. Like, hey, with emulation, you can bump up the resolution of 3D games, you know, map controls to something else, you know, do mods to some degree. I mean, so it's, or you know, trainers, if the gameplay has some bad aspects, or maybe you just want to have fun with it, you know? I mean, it's just an aesthetic thing for me. I meant what I said in the crew episode about like I wish every game with a day and night cycle could just let me set the time scale like to like 24 hours or 6 hours or something. Cause I like nice and slow, like time shifts. Or if it's evening and I think everything looks beautiful, well then I want it to stay evening. I don't want to switch to night and then we're back to like rain in the morning or something. Like, no, when it's nice, I want to keep the weather on that. And then maybe a different day, okay, maybe I do feel like cloudy and overcast lighting, and then I can keep it on that. So yeah, no, I mean, it's not that I'm against night too. It's just that if I'm in the mood for a certain type of weather or time of day, I kind of like to keep it there, you know? So, and it sucks that the thing is, in reality, you can kind of keep it there more than you can in most games with day-night cycles. Because at least in reality, if it's evening, well then I probably have at least an hour or two of the evening, whereas I probably have 10 minutes in the game, you know? So, I don't remember the factions from Stalker, so somebody's asking which is my favorite. Somebody's asking about shenanigans at college. There were a few. One guy flooded his room. I remember. I don't remember how. That's right. I think like they had like a mini fridge and it broke. Maybe. Oh no, the guy's he had a waterbed mattress and it broke, and that flooded the dorm room of this guy down the hall. My roommate was generally okay. He was really into Weezer, the band. Like I only messed with him once when he got really drunk and came back, and I was trying to sleep, and he started snoring like hell, and like I was like Travis, and like I jostled him, and he just wasn't responding. But the thing is, he fell asleep with his headphones on, listening to music. So what I ended up doing is I just kind of turned the volume up, like kind of gradually more and more to the music he was listening to on his headphones. And then after a point, and then he goes, it takes it off, and then he looked really confused, and then finally went back to sleep. That's the only time I wasn't like going out of my way to mess with him, but it's like he was snoring. I just couldn't get him to stop. So I'm unfortunately kind of a light sleeper. Let's see. There was a guy down the hall from us, got really drunk, ended up coming back and just pissing completely into the dresser for both of their clothes. Yeah, his roommate wasn't happy about that. So they had to empty it out and clear out all the clothes and clean the drawers. Let's see. Trying to think. Well, I remember there was one thing my roommate said that I loved, was when he was just typing on his computer, and like he turns to me and says, "You know who's going to help me write this report? Samuel Adams." And then he goes and gets a beer out of like the mini fridge. Let's see. What was the other thing? Yeah, I guess it certainly was where I was. I guess I'm sure there's many more wild stories than was happening where I was. Mine was a little more. It probably was less eventful than plenty of other campuses. I'm just. I mean, those are a few highlights I'm thinking of, but. Well, one thing was. I mean, this is a subtle thing, but one thing was sort of funny, is like on the first day or two, people were getting set up, and one guy set up his computer. You could tell this guy was probably going to go places. He has that kind of class president vibe to him, like very social, kind of outgoing thing to him. But like on his computer desktop, his wallpaper was like a senior photo of himself. So he's there, and then like on his computer, it's there him going like this, and like other people are laughing at him after that. Like, are you a narcissist? Like, yeah, it was kind of. Yeah, I remember he ended up getting a fake ID so he could get liquor, and I think the fake ID name he was showing at the people on the dorm floor, it was like I think it was like John Argentina, or it was like the last name was definitely Argentina on the fake name, so his name was Johnny Argentina. So. You wouldn't think you would pick that as like a name for your fake ID. You think you'd kind of want to lower the suspicion level, but I mean, my last name's pretty good for a fake ID. Scott, or Smith. Well, no, that Smith might be too plain if you're. Yeah, McLovin. Let's see, I'm trying to think of some other ones. There's probably few things I'm forgetting, but those are a few. Yeah, I don't have like the best stories from college, but yeah, college was like, it was kind of a mix for me because that's when like my depression was kind of escalating. Like it wasn't quite in the full swing of things yet, but it wasn't really like the most fun experience for me. I mean, not because of college, but just because of whatever was wrong with me chemically, or whatever was going on with my brain. So, I mean, it wasn't quite at maximum levels yet, but it was starting to increase. I remember. Okay, so it's a longer question from Game Dungeon. Do you enjoy games with realistic? I get the impression you enjoy games with realistic, believable, and/or contemporary settings. Oh, not necessarily. I mean, I'm fine if they want to go all. The start of this, I was talking about just go all in on like a gigantic steampunk world or something. I guess what I like is when like the characters in that treat that as real. So, because then it just kind of rips you out of the moment if like they're not, if they don't treat this world as real, then it kind of doesn't sell it as much, No, you can have as fantastic an environment as you. What I want is realistic human behavior. That's what I like. So, does it annoy you when games with that kind of locale almost always devolve into having boring, less believable settings that are harder to immerse oneself into? And he gives example of Resident Evil going from a realistic house to the labs. I don't know if the labs were that unrealistic. You could have a mansion with a lab beneath it. Monkey Island going from pleasant atmospheric towns to hellish or industrial bunkers. Yeah, I think the industrial bunker was in 2. You kind of had the hell thing. No, because in Monkey Island, that was kind of cool that like you're going deeper into the island and it's sort of this kind of lava/spirit realm that it was a little unclear, but that's where like LeChuck the Ghost Pirate was coming from. So it's like, I kind of like it when games escalate to kind of getting more fantastic. So we start off a little more mundane, but then it escalates to something nuts. I'm actually a big fan of that if it's done right. Well, I like that in, what was it, The Black Mirror. It's like, all right, we're going to it's like it wasn't just a murder. We really are getting deep into the magic stuff. So for me, I can see where people think that'd be cheesy, but no, for me, it's a payoff. Well, obviously, I don't like it if the games get more boring, but yeah, it's but. I mean, boring levels in general, by definition, I'm not really going to like them that much. Oh, and they want to talk about what you've read, watched, played last month. Okay, let's see. For reading, I guess I'm still catching up on stuff. I've had the book. Actually, my parents are recommending this one. I haven't read it at all. I don't even know what it's about yet. If somebody says it's good and they think I'll like it, that's sometimes like going in blind. The book Project Hail Mary has been recommended to me. It's by the same person who wrote The Martian. So I don't know what it's about yet. I imagine if I had to guess, it's probably hard science fiction, considering The Martian was. Let's see. So, yeah, I've mostly just been kind of reading news and catching up on like tech stuff and magazines. I'll probably get back to another book soon. Let's see, for movies, I saw one that was okay. What was it? It's called Stillwater. This is Matt Damon. It's about this guy going to another country, and his daughter's in like a criminal case trouble, and he's trying to help her, but he's really fumbling around. Being in another country, I figure my parents especially could probably relate to that when they visited. Let's see. Trying to think of what else I saw. I don't think I saw anything that great this month. I played a couple games. Again, I started playing Attractio, but the writing wasn't that. The plot premise was interesting, but the writing wasn't that great, and all the characters sort of annoyed me. The puzzles were good, but then I got to one puzzle where I think I see what to do, but the execution is just gonna be such a pain that like I've decided nope, no, I think I'm just gonna watch a playthrough now. Like I hit a wall. Um, I played some of Sea Salt. The atmosphere in that's great. The gameplay, it's like a little frustrating because you sort of spawn these units and kind of roll through the town trying to take out the villagers, but it's like you can't. It's not like a normal strategy game, whereas where you tell the units to go and attack, it's all one button. And the thing is, they have weaknesses and strengths to different units, so it's like you have to. It's a real pain to kind of do this dance to get them not get killed by certain units, but get killed by others. Whereas if this was just a normal strategy game, you could tell, okay, your melee units go up front, the ranged units hang in the back, and it would just be it'd be a much easier way to deal with things. So I don't know, and it's gradually getting harder. So I made a few ways in, but I don't know if I might watch a playthrough to finish it. Like it's getting to the point now where it's not being fun anymore. The atmosphere is still great, and the writing's funny in that, but it's mixed feelings on it. And another game I straight up just decided to give up on, Bedlam. Came out a few years ago. The plot is this person stuck in it seems like their consciousness is stuck in a video game, and it's glitching out, and they're kind of doing spoofs off of old games. Like the first one is sort of like a reimagining of Quake 2, and then you had to like sort of like this original World War II Call of Duty material, and I made it to the third zone, and I don't know, it's just not hooking me in. It's an interesting idea, but it's not. I don't know. It's giving me that bad feeling you get from games where it's just like this just doesn't feel worth my time, and I don't feel like I'm getting value out of this. So it's like a good, interesting idea, but not really delivering for me. Also, I played. Oh yeah, that was one. This one's showing potential for me. Multiple video chats before I mentioned how I'd like some sort of like a single player equivalent of something like PlanetSide 2. This is the closest I've seen so far, though I'm still seeing a lot of room for improvement. It's called Carrier Command Gaia Mission. And it starts off as like a first-person shooter, but then you get to like this aircraft carrier, and then from there you launch sort of these ATVs that you go and try to capture points, and then like I think you unlock, and you can kind of give commands to other ATVs too, and then you unlock these flying vehicles. And I got to a point where I'm not sure if the game is glitched or I can't figure out what to do, where they wanted me to rebuild this station, and I'm at the objective, and I can't figure out how to do it. So I got kind of stuck. But Carrier Command 2, I don't think it's Carrier Command 2. I think Carrier Command Gaia Mission. Yeah, it's it's a remake of the original 1988 Carrier Command. So yeah, maybe this is Carrier Command 2. Let's see, is there another one named Carrier Command 2? Okay, there's another game named Carrier Command 2. So no, this is not Carrier Command 2. Oh yeah, Carrier Command 2 has kind of a flat shaded polygon look to it, huh? So that, I mean, it might be, I'm imagining the gameplay might be similar, but yeah, like, I like the general direction this was going. The cutscenes are straight B movie, like all the dialogue cutscenes, like, so yeah, if you like the cheesiness, you might appreciate those. But I like this concept of like, yeah, you're launching this from your base, and then like, I'd like a little more variety, but I might still be too early into the game to really see how it plays out. I got stuck on this one point, but yeah, Carrier Command Gaia mission. It's showing a lot of potential. I'd love to see something like this, except just more. Like, okay, you can go in with your vehicle, and then maybe you get to some points where like the terrain's too rough, so it makes sense to get out on foot. Or you can do air support up to a point, but then there's like once you get to the base, then the anti-aircraft's too strong or something like. So yeah, it lets you jump between vehicles so far. And you can give like simple AI commands like to escort you or move to this location or take a defensive. So yeah, I'd love to see more of it. I'm seeing a lot of potential here. I don't know if there's been I hope there's other games like this, but well, it sounds like obviously Carrier Command 2 might be one of them. Though Carrier Command Gaia mission has arguably more defined graphics than Carrier Command 2 because that doesn't do the flat texture thing. So yeah, I played some of that. I'm seeing a whole lot of potential in this game. So this is one where it's not quite perfect for me, but man, I'm seeing a whole lot of ideas I like in there. So, geez, what else? Well, okay, I guess the other thing I played was I finished Unreal in VR, though I skipped some of the ship portions because those are sort of a slog. And now I'm on the expansion, and I'm still struggling trying to get some old games working in VR. Like, man, that's the thing about VorpX. It's really hit or miss. Like I can't get it working on a lot of games. Now there is the fallback solution is super depth 3D shader, yeah, for reshade. But the interface on that is horrendous, and the effect isn't as good as Geometry 3D, but, beggars can't be choosers. I really want to get the old Need for Speed games working on it. Need for Speed 2, 3, 4, and 5, which is Porsche Unleashed. Those are the ones I really want to... Oh, yeah, I barely played it. I did get Need for Speed Most Wanted working in VR. Though I was looking into camera mods because... The camera is kind of annoying with that because it's like you have like real low, you have like the bumper cam, which is like real low to the ground. You have like the hood cam, which you see the front of, which could be a little higher. And then there's like the third person cam. You don't have like an in-car view, which would be better for VR. But I just want to... Oh yeah, somebody's mentioning Angels Fall First. I tried that a while back. I guess the thing about Angels Fall First was... Does that really have like a single player? They're saying with bots. See, I don't know. I kind of like having a campaign and a story, even if it's like B-level movie grade, So I still need to play Battle Realms. Yeah. No, I think I know that one. Is that the one with the cover and it has one guy with like a gigantic sword and another guy with like a gigantic mallet? Let's see. Yep, that's the one. Yeah, so that's one of those I like never got around to trying out. But okay, let's see. What other shortcuts do I have that? I tried the game. See, it sounds like I'm going through a lot of games, but some of these I didn't spend too much time on. I tried doing I just basically tested to make sure Need for Speed Most Wanted worked. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. That's when I'm really gonna have to use the steering wheel for, because if you just press forward on that, it does all this shaking, like exaggerates thing. It's like you're skipping all the gears. So you really need analog controls for that to be a smooth experience in VR for Need for Speed Most Wanted. Yeah, I tried a game called Going Downtown, which I don't know. It takes place. It's like a future mystery thing, but I don't know. It was throwing me off how like the production value is like okay, but then everything is in text. The production value is too good for this to just be a text-only game. It's like my brain's expecting voice acting. I don't know. I mean, if it was like a 90s pixel art thing, okay, then I'll stick with just text, but I was wanting voice act. Oh yeah, that was another one I played. Yeah, this one was it was interesting. Crush, Kill, and Die. This is like an old '90s RTS. Uh, the the video cutscenes are cheesy in the best way. Like they're not trying to be serious. It's definitely it's definitely pretty cheesy. It's fun. Um, the game itself, though, it's kind of your boilerplate '90s RTS, except man, it's relentless though. Like you take down enemies or an enemy establishment, the AI is so fast to bring them back up. It's like, good God, Uh, it ended up getting to be a bit too much for me. I was thinking, like, because I can play like a long kind of RTS battle and go through it, but it's just sort of mentally taxing. I like ones where it's like, okay, you got to think of how you're going to claim this point, and then maybe proceed to claim this point, and go. So you're kind of like it's like you're climbing up a hill. This one, it's like you're climbing up a hill during an avalanche. I mean, it pushed back so hard. So it was. Yeah, I ended up just kind of giving up on it. It's not a bad game at all, but it's just, man, it wore me down. So, why do you have Reflect World instead of Reflect All in the settings when recording Freeman's Mind too? They probably got reset. Sorry. They probably got reset and I didn't notice. Actually, here, let me check right now. I'm curious right now. No, maybe I shouldn't launch. No, that might screw up OBS. I shouldn't do that. It's an accident. It's the same reason, like, I tried to have, like, the long distance fading of the props. And I did eventually have that, but in some of the earlier River episodes, I set that, but then I didn't realize the engine would reset that, and you have to manually set that every time in the console. You can't just put that in a config setting because it'll undo it. And I think I know why too, because sometimes that would cause the demo to crash, and I had to kind of work around that. So it's probably like only 99% stable, not 100% like that. I think that's it for games. Okay, so I'm trying not to go too long this time. I'm getting kind of hungry, so let me just kind of try my best to go faster through the questions. Okay, I'm skipping some. Okay, I'll answer this one because I saw it. They're saying they want to know specifically what I would do if I were the mayor of a town where tons of people who are unvaccinated are dying every day from the virus. And I'm not saying the name because I don't want to flag the YouTube video. And people are protesting vaccines down the street from the hospital. Yeah, I thought about this because it's kind of a no-win scenario a bit because, I mean, as a mayor, you're not going to have like authority control to like, I don't think at least have stronger, like I think legally as a mayor, you don't have authority to have like stronger crackdowns than either mandating vaccines or else enforcing a quarantine. So I think I mean, the people who are protesting it, they're probably not going to be swayed by much. Look, I said before that some people have to learn things the hard way. That's probably this crowd. If they're out having actual... Look, I can understand having skepticism for a vaccine that's been like rushed through. In a perfect world, the vaccine would have like a decade or more of testing. We know exactly how it works in the long term. But this got rushed out because of it. But you kind of got to look at it like the least worst option where okay, what are the odds of something horrendous happening to you taking it versus not? And I think it overwhelmingly goes in favor of taking the vaccine. But if you're out protesting it, that's probably not that crowd. They're probably just convinced that they're probably misinformed on it. But oh God, The Onion had such a good headline. What was it? Yeah, I gotta read this. Maybe I can find it. Yeah, Vaccine skeptic does own research by enrolling 45,000 friends in double-blind clinical trial. So when people talk about do your own research, that's what doing your own research really looks like. You know, so yeah, if that's what your if that's your skepticism is, then yeah, okay, that's the fair, that's the legit kind of skepticism. Where, yeah, it's yeah for 45,000 friends a double-blind clinical trial. But yeah, I think so. I think the people protesting it are going to be just utterly convinced that's what you're not going to. Nothing you say to them is going to convince them. The only thing that would convince them is probably seeing people they know fall victim to the virus. So if I was the mayor, what I would probably do, I mean, I'll put out public health notices to try to get the people who they just don't know, who they're not like diehard zealots on this. They just don't have the right information. Try to do some information on that. And then the best thing I do is just try to reach out for help for other towns or maybe the state to get more, because your hospitals are probably going to get overrun. So you're going to have more sick. You're going to have more sick people and like less resources to deal with it. So maybe you can get more supplies coming in, or maybe from districts that aren't hit as hard, you can kind of get some funds to kind of give bonuses or make it worth the while for more nurses or doctors to kind of come over to your district for a while and kind of pay them, like give them some addition, try and get funds to give them some funding for that to go out of their way. So basically just kind of accept that you're just going to have more sick people because your constituency isn't going to stop spreading it. So you just got to deal with that reality and try to adapt. So yeah, just try to get more help if you can, for more medical help. Okay, so more questions. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, you can tell where my mind's at when I'm going in length about like the keyboard peripheral and not so much about the global pandemic. I still need to play the Dirt and Dirt Rally games. Somebody's asking if I played those. Yeah, I'm kind of going in order because the original game was named Colin McRae's Dirt, and before that there was Colin McRae Rally, then Colin McRae Rally 2, then 3, then I think 2004, and I think 2005. So I've gone through 1 and 2. I think I'm on 3 now. So I'll eventually work my way up through the dirt. So it's probably like 10, 12 games of these. So yeah. So might as well start with like the ones with rougher graphics first and just watch it improve as I go. I may do more playthroughs again. Somebody's asking about that. I've just been really busy. It's work to set up the streaming stuff. Though I gave my word, I'm not going to play Sunless Sea on my own. I'll wait until the stream for that. So I'll announce, I'll try to give like a week's notice on that, announce it on Twitter or the site or something. Actually, I need to start using that little box on the site more. I've been forgetting to do that. Do you think Valve will make a Steam controller successor after winning the Scuff appeal? I don't know what the Scuff appeal is, so I'm not sure the Steam controller might be as good as it gets for couch gaming for PC stuff. I have no idea, but I'd rather see more stuff like the Claw or better mouse or that sort of thing. So I was asking my first experience with the Journeyman project. I think I might have borrowed it from a friend originally, and then later I bought the trilogy. Oh, okay, I'll answer this. Yeah, because I feel like these people kind of need answers more. They're saying they're a self-employed musician, and like it's been tough. Yeah, I bet. It's. Sure, it's competitive as can be. Yeah, even in the Phantasmagoria 2 interview I appeared for, I got to talk to the composer of uh, Phantasmagoria. He made it sound like you're never gonna get a break. Like it's incredibly competitive. Have you any useful tips for mitigating the effects, or ultimately not going crazy from burnout? Yeah, I've compared this before to like running. It's like how when the roads are icy or snowy, and you're going up a hill. If you've come down a hill and you're going up it, and you keep up your speed, you probably be okay because you have your momentum going. But then if you stop, you're screwed. So much of like working on creative stuff can feel like that. Uh, but the thing is, you can only keep it going for so long. So the best advice I can get, and he's making it sound like if he does slow down, he's gonna get kind of screwed himself. Eventually, at some point, you probably are gonna burn out. So I guess try to come up with backup plans. Just think of like, okay, imagine I just can't do this anymore. What am I gonna do with my life? And you might end up having to sort of downgrade to a job that you can tolerate, that you can get by with, and just kind of having to scale down your music instead of doing it full time. So you're not going to be able to produce as much, but then the stress load won't be as high too. So yeah, start coming up with as many backup plans as you can with what could you tolerate doing if you do burn out, because well, he's saying he can't quit his job without losing it forever. That might be true, but that's that job. You know, you might be able to get another job later. So, especially, look, especially for something like music, they may not care too much about your work history. A company, what they might care about is how great does your music sound. So if you have an awesome portfolio, if you had to quit one job because you were burned out, they may not even notice. So, not every job's like that, but like for creative stuff where it's like really talent oriented, have an awesome portfolio, so that they hear this and they go, oh, wow, this is great stuff. I got to hire this guy. That can actually count a lot more than job experience sometimes. Yeah, not every job is like that, but for stuff where it's more about like the quality of your work as opposed to just a body to fill a role, then like, yeah, having a dynamite portfolio counts for a lot. But like, not that I can really afford people, but like, well, when I get help, that's what I care about. Like, I don't really care like what they've worked on. I do care about seeing past examples, so I know what to arrange and what to expect. But like, they could be a student, they could be like an industry vet who had burned out. So I wouldn't know. I just, does this sound good or does this look good? Oh, it does? Okay, great, So I can say that as someone who can't really afford to hire people, but who would, So yeah. So don't think of it like it's the end of the world if you do end up having to quit. Just come up with some backup plans. So yeah, you can throw your portfolio out to other people, Okay, sorry, I'm skipping some more. See, this was saying they're like, are there any other examples like Contraption Zach where you really enjoy the lore in the world but can't stand the actual game? I don't think, is that what I said in the game dungeon? I think I enjoyed it. It's just that some stuff took me off guard. Like, yeah, like there are parts I don't like. I enjoyed parts of it quite a bit, I think, in Contraption Zach. But to answer that question, yes, absolutely. There are games where I do enjoy the lore in the world, but I don't care for the gameplay at all. I don't think I'm going to be much of an EVE Online player, but the world looks pretty cool. And that's just a more mild example. I think I get the feeling almost everything Dark Souls and Souls-like is probably going to be like that for me. I'm probably going to like the atmosphere in every single one of these games, and probably start bailing on the default gameplay pretty soon and start looking for trainers. So the thing is about Dark Souls, like, I realize there's like there's one of two things they could have done that would have made me stick with it, like the legit way. They could have either had a quick save option, in other words, I can save wherever I want, or they could just not had the enemies respawn. If they did either one of those as an option, I would have stuck with it. But having save points and have them respawn all the enemies on top of everything else that game does, no, that is just not worth my time. Like, I think the world's awesome. I think the atmosphere is great, and like it's very intriguing, but like I just have no respect for how they set that up. I mean, for those that do, great. I mean, that's more your kind of gameplay. That's not my kind of gameplay. I mean, I'm not against hard games, but not like that, I mean, Serious Sam is not considered an easy game, and I click with that much more, Yeah, just don't die. Well, too late. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Blender, the 3D creation suite? And to what lengths are you going to use it for the movie? It's hard to say. I hope probably not as much. I mean, I'm not a good keyframe animator, and the modeling, forget it. I mean, the modeling is, I'm either going to have to rip from existing assets or else, get help with that. So, I mean, even Civil Protection, I never did the modeling really. It was I always saw that as just a bridge too far, because I was doing like the in-game animation. Originally I was doing like the map modifications, all sound editing, writing. It's like, it got overwhelming. Like, and the map, setting up the scenes and the choreography. It just felt like a bridge too far. So I was like, if I start learning modeling too, I'm never going to finish anything because my time's going to be stretched too thin. So, should it be illegal to be ignorant? Well, no, because then, I mean, everyone's ignorant of something. So, although for the more serious something is, the more that's not an excuse, or it's only an excuse in lessening your penalty. Like, what do I think of King of the Hill? I watched a few episodes of King of the Hill. It definitely is clever and has good parts, but it just doesn't grab me the way Beavis and Butthead did. Like, there were too many parts. I don't know. It wasn't as funny to me, or just kind of felt like, okay, let's move along. Whereas Beavis and Butthead, I'm just like glued to the screen. So, I mean, I'm laughing hard at Beavis and Butthead, whereas there's plenty of stuff that's just like, okay, with King of the Hill. I don't know. It's good. It's more uneven for me. It's uneven because some parts are fantastic in King of the Hill, and other parts just feel sort of dumb, or like, okay, I've seen this, feels like typical sitcom stuff. Okay, like a great example. I saw one episode where his niece had a breakup, and she's just bawling and crying over it, and it at the table, and it's making Hank kind of uncomfortable. So he tries to change the subject, and he's like, It's like, hey, you know what? I almost died at work today, and then he gets cut off. Like, I almost died at work today because she's still crying, and his wife's trying to console her. And I was thinking, I'm more interested in that story than the whole relationship for that. Uh, and the thing is, her having the breakup and everything, that feels more like kind of like your typical sitcom plot. Whereas it's like those small moments in King of the Hill, it's like the strength of it to me. It's like, like him standing around talking with his buddies. That's the part that I like. Or just them, or just him having some sort of crisis, stuff like that. And that's like almost all you got with Beavis and Butthead. So, uh, yeah, it's so yeah, but that probably appealed more to a mainstream audience. Whereas Beavis and Butthead was more your, whereas I'm absolutely the person. If I had it back then, I would have been more of the '90s MTV audience. Different crowds. So. I feel like Mike Judge sort of has to sneak in his cleverness more in King of the Hill, whereas he was just completely unbridled in Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, or yeah, I'm remembering another scene in King of the Hill I liked where he's I think he was talking to Bobby about something, and he says like, okay, yeah, he was fixing the TV, and say, oh, okay, Bobby, you can plug the TV back in now, and then he looks at, and it was already plugged in. And said, okay, it's the small things in King of the Hill that I like. It's like the main plot points, most of them they just didn't deliver with me. So okay, more. Okay, I guess I'll mention this quick. What's your opinion about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Okay, keep in mind, I am very, yeah, going back to the ignorant question, I am very underinformed on most foreign affairs events. There's only so much time in the day. It's not the most, it's not the sort of thing that interests me as much, so I just don't follow it as much. I have heard of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. I don't know the specifics of it. I'll just give my broad, naive, general take on foreign policy, and that I kind of feel like we shouldn't be invading other countries in general, and much less occupying them. But let's say there's some sort of disaster going on. Let's say Pennsylvania. There's a reference some of you will know. So let's say there's a disaster going on in Pennsylvania. There's a genocide going on. So this is so extreme that we kind of can't really sit back and watch this. What we would do is convene with other countries. I've heard even the United Nations isn't the has problems too, but let's say something like the United Nations. Convene with them, bring this forward, like say, okay, this is a major human rights violation. We really need to, people are dying by the millions. We need to step in. So they vote on that, and then there's a pretty big consensus that, yeah, we need to do something because this is a humanitarian disaster. So then, with the backing of the United Nations, we have a joint effort. It would probably still mostly be the United States because we're the biggest military by far. But then we go in with the sanction of most of the world. And then by the same token, we have a general plan of action. Like, okay, we go in, we remove the dictator or whoever that's doing this or their regime. We arrest people, and then we kind of work with that country, or if it's just too much in shambles, do with the UN to decide what we should do upon exiting, and then we exit. Go in, solve the problem best we can, and leave. To pretend that we're just going to fix the problem indefinitely, one, I think that's disingenuous, but two, that implies that we have things so we're living this utopia existence that we have things so settled and stable back at home that we feel like we're Starfleet and can go in and improve these things because we know what we're doing. I mean, it's now if they were coming to us for aid, that would be kind of different. But let's say the UN looks at this and they're like, no, this is like an internal civil war situation. And it's like, we can't really get involved with this without like getting half the country against us. So maybe we can just provide like humanitarian aid, like, first aid or supplies, like unilaterally, or like if people were fleeing, maybe we can set up like a refugee program or something like that. But yeah, I've heard before that, Ross, please stop. It's so cringe. So that take is so cringe. Okay, well, I said it might be naive, but I mean, Afghanistan, I don't know why we've been there for decades, but besides, I'm talking broadly here. I'll finish this. I'll finish this, then you can talk about how cringe it is. All right. So I've heard before. I haven't researched this, that if we held the U.S. accountable to the same standards that we did to like Nazi Germany during the Nuremberg trials, then every president after Truman would have been executed. Because so we're not exactly good faith actors a whole lot of the time, and we're involved in so many muddy things that have gotten a lot of people killed. So that's why I said I understand this is naive. And the thing is, a lot of foreign affairs situations, there's such a mess that there is no one right answer. So what I would say then is you're never going to have a nice and neat solution. So I would lean in favor of stuff that does not involve invading and occupying other countries and bombing and killing people, unless there's a really damn good reason that has a whole lot of global consensus. So that I feel like that's like my broad take on foreign affairs. So pulling out of Afghanistan, yeah, that seems reasonable. Oh, and yes, of course, it's going to be messy. And I think, let's see. Yeah, that's somebody saying you don't want to occupy a foreign country indefinitely. Cringe. So I had one more thought on this, but I think I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, okay. Here, I'll give the cringy part then, the more controversial part. One thing I would be actually okay with, and I can understand where people think this is shocking, is I still would actually be okay with spies, where okay, we pull out completely of a real hot zone, but we leave intelligence operatives just to kind of find out what's going on there, and if there is going to be a clear and present threat to our country or others, and then we could pass that information along. But there's a world of difference between just keeping tabs on things and reporting back information versus let's overthrow this government and occupy it. See, that's, or put up a puppet puppet dictator or something, or endorse this faction over another. Like, I'm a believer in defense. Spying is still kind of a defensive action because you're trying to gather intel to identify potential threats. And if the threats if it's just an internal problem for the country, well, again, maybe we can assist with that if that's what they're seeking or if that's the global consensus. Otherwise, they got to figure it out themselves, So yeah, maybe I'll probably get some hate mail on this, but yeah, that would be my broad approach to foreign affairs. Defense, not offense. That's, if we're taking offense, then you really gotta lay out how we're saving. It almost has to be like a Hollywood level event, where there's going to be like a nuclear bomb set off inside a city or, something like that. The internal cities. So, okay, well, I'll drop it. I am very underinformed on foreign affairs. So, But so that's why I'm trying to speak broadly there. Yeah. I'm speaking about Pennsylvania. So, but that would be my general mentality. Just defense and don't get involved unless there's like just we basically have to, you know. Okay, more questions. Would you consider writing, animating your own hypothetical Half-Life 3 to end off Freeman's mind? I mean, maybe if somebody else wants to make the mod for it, but because yeah, it does kind of end on. It's not exactly the most satisfying conclusion to Half-Life 2, but it makes me think that what? It makes me think that it makes me wonder if Valve ever had a plan to end the Half-Life storyline. Like, let's say they kept to their schedule of like episode 3 and then maybe Half-Life 3. Was it always going to be continual? So. Let's see. I have not heard of MapBase. Okay, improved version of the source engine. Makes it more accessible for me, people like me who can't code. Well, I can't either, so. Okay, very revolutionary to the modding community. Okay, well, maybe. I'll look into it. I'll look through it with the eye of what I was doing with making Civil Protection, because that I've seen so many pieces of software where they'll name like 100 great things it does, but then it totally doesn't address my biggest problems, you know? So, okay, I'm skipping some more because I'm running longer again. Some of these I've answered before in the past. Okay, well, yeah, sorry, I'm just, blocks of silence here where I'm just reading this. I don't have a Game Dungeon fan request list, but eventually I'm going to get some help putting together like a whole list of all the. I have like a category on my email section where people make requests. So eventually I'll go through those and make an archive and see what the most requested ones are. I'm pretty sure I know what the top 2 are. I'll keep that. You can speculate what are the most requested games for Game Dungeon. It's actually not Half-Life, in case you're wondering. Okay, sorry, I'm just down to like the 0 point questions now. I know for a fact I got asked that a couple times. If I could go back in time and give advice to my past self, what will you tell yourself? Well, see, that one's tricky because, yeah, maybe if you think things are going to be okay, you don't work as hard, then you're not okay. Well, yeah, I mentioned before though, like 2009, I was toying with the idea of mining Bitcoin just as an excuse to get some upgraded video cards. Like, I wasn't really that interested in the Bitcoin. I just wanted faster video cards for games. So I would have said, no, go ahead and do it. Yeah, just do it. Then just keep it safe somewhere. And yeah, just don't worry about it. Yeah, you should have done the Crossfire Radeons, Russ. Yeah, because at the time Radeons were better for mining Bitcoin back in 2009. I mean, I say that because something's like, oh, you should have bought this stock. I would have had no idea about that. But no, I was toying with the idea. I had actually heard of Bitcoin back then. So. Somebody's asking if I was Commander Shepard, I have to choose one of the 4 endings of Mass Effect 3. Which would you choose and why? I actually don't remember all the endings now. I think the game so thoroughly convinced me that the Reapers were a threat, I just like blow them up. No, we can't get these things under our control. It's too risky. This is too dangerous. Just blow them up. Like, I think that's what I went with. Yeah, in Mass Effect. In Mass Effect 3, I was basically like the equivalent of like this evangelist that just won't shut up. You've probably met people like this where they're like, it's like, oh, the movie's cool. It's like, oh yeah, you know what else is cool? Jesus, and they start talking, like they just work everything, and so like every single conversation was just like, hey, you know what? We need to go kill the Reapers. Oh yeah, hey, yeah, that's real nice with your side quest. But you know what'd be better is us killing the Reapers. Like every single decision I had in that game was just like, you know what? I think we should mobilize to go kill these Reapers. So it's like I was complete one-track mind on that. Well, I don't really care about this side thing, but I think we should go kill. But okay, more weapons to kill the Reapers. All right, we'll do that one, or whatever. I forget. I forget what it was. All the details. Yeah, so I haven't checked in on Star Citizen. I'm waiting for them to. I'm waiting for the 1.0 release, or no, was it Squadron 42? But I'm waiting for the story mode when it's good enough for Squadron 42 or whatever the number was. With Mark Hamill and I want my campaign. That's what I'd like to play there. Somebody's asking about diversity of game characters for white dudes or women or minorities. They want to play women or minorities. I kind of don't care. I kind of care more about the game world, or if the character is a big part of that, than the personality. Like, I mean, whether if they have a bland or obnoxious personality, then I'm not going to care about the race or the gender. But if they're really interesting or just kind of an okay person and they're just sort of a vessel to play the game, then I still don't care. So I don't think the gender or the race really is what makes them interesting, Okay, so I'll answer the live questions. We'll go ahead and try the @Ross broadcast thing. No, actually, no. Go ahead and do the 3 equal signs. Then I can check it on IRC, so I won't have to scroll up and down the chat and annoy people on the recording. So yeah, if you have some, okay, so 3 equal signs. I noticed on your game streams you stopped wearing those big headphones and wear something else now. Those in-game monitors or earbuds, how do they sound? Oh, those are just like cheap earbuds I got from Sony. I did that because it's a little more photogenic. I use those when I go out and exercise too. I still use my regular headphones for just playing on my own or doing audio editing. So the sound quality is not really any better. It's just, it looks better for video. What monster would you enjoy being and what would you enjoy fighting the most? Well, ogre with a big club would be pretty fun. I get to smash things and just, for enjoy fighting the most, I actually thought about this with a conversation I had with somebody else where they're talking about the holodeck from Star Trek, and I was thinking about how like Worf's holodeck exercise is to, fight these 2 like strong characters with his martial arts, and I was thinking, what would I want to do for something like that, for like a combat exercise? And what I came up with was I would want to be in like a medieval siege, just being overrun by goblins. So they're all like half your height, like much lower mass, but there's like just hundreds of them, and be there with like mace. Be there with like a mace or something, a shield. So you're fully armored. And like you can handle any one of them, but there's so many of them, it becomes overwhelming. I was saying, yeah, that'd be awesome. And so, yeah, I think fighting just hordes of goblins would be a lot of fun if I were to fight them. It might be different in a game, but yeah, just they're just coming at you, So yeah, you easily, and you could send them flying, but that you would just it would be well, actually, that was one of the things I really liked about the mod No More Room in Hell, is that they were mostly slow zombies, and you were just fighting kind of like a normal person, not like a super gladiator or anything. But then they would just kind of slowly creep up, and if you weren't careful, they would overwhelm you. And I love that. It's like they really nailed that kind of like creeping dread that the zombies have that you don't get from like really fast and ferocious enemies. So. I'm a massive fan of Half-Life 1, but terribly disappointed with Half-Life 2. Although retcon driving, lack of explanation of the story, crappy combat, it's a slap in the face for you. Do you recommend a game that you consider being a spiritual successor to Half-Life? I'm sort of, I don't know which one would be a spiritual successor. Chat might have better answers for that. But I agree with you somewhat. I wasn't terribly disappointed, but I remember that game got hyped up to the moon and back. And whenever a game does that, it's going to make me, it really needs to live up to expectations too. And I thought, well, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Half-Life 1 really explained much of its story either. I'd say the combat was okay in Half-Life 2, but it was more gimmicky, I thought. Yeah, the retconning, that wasn't a huge deal for me, but since I'm doing Freeman's Mind, I'm not letting that slide. Yeah, they're not exactly retconning. They're sort of, or maybe it's retconning. They're sort of they're brushing up right against retconning, where they're kind of saying that, oh, well, you really did all this stuff. So they're not changing what happened in Half-Life 1, but they're just implying all this other stuff did that you had no reference on. I guess Barney's sort of a retcon because he was just an anonymous, swapped out player character. Okay, this is not a great game, but it sort of has more of a Half-Life like approach to it, like thematically. Was it Afterfall Insanity? It's not a great game though. So like I would call it more of like a poor man's Dead Space kind of thing. Where the thing I liked about Half-Life is like it really convinced me I need to escape. I need to get out of this facility. And whereas at Half-Life 2, I almost didn't know what I was doing half the time. It's like, well, okay, I'm a rebel, but like, where am I going? Like, is this the smartest action? Like, it just felt more aimless for me. Like, do we even have a plan to stop this? Or they're just like, whereas Half-Life, it was like laser focused. No, get out of Black Mesa, survive. So I like that about it. But yeah, spiritual successor to Half-Life. That's, I guess there haven't been a lot of games that kind of do that facility, everything going wrong, and then you're trying to survive thing. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple I'm not thinking of, but again, this is the sort of question chat should be able to come up with. Okay. Do you exercise every day, or is it on every other day thing? No, it's every day. I don't always run every day though. I mean, it's, especially now since I'm by the forest, I can just kind of do a hike for some of it. But yeah, no, my mind is not in a good place if I don't exercise. I can't focus. I get in more of a bad mood. And I'll say, I think I've said before, at least for me, there are some types of bad moods that just never happen if you exercise every day. Like if you're lying in bed, like if you're sick or you're just lying all day, like in the morning, you might feel better. But then like by the end of the day, you just feel kind of like, blah. You don't get that if you exercise every day. Or at least I don't. So it's just for my own. It's more for my mental health than anything else. Uh, you mentioned previous videos you work with other people to help you with Freeman's Mind. Do you think this collaborations will help you with future collaborations or the movie? Yeah, well, we'll see if Otto's up to it, but William, well, he was calling himself William Smith, and he said to change it to William Reed, so I changed it. He's been kind of stepping in since Otto's been busier with stuff for sound effects. I'll probably get one of them for the movie. Andes Mitchell, it was a slow start, but he's been impressing me lately with the volume balancing. So, I'm only too happy to hand that off to someone else. For more, see the thing is, for something like Freeman's Mind, it's going to be different skill sets for the movie. Where I probably will get some more help for that, but it's, what I'm going to need the most for the movie are animators. That's going to be like the number one thing. So, because everything else is going to be a motion capture that I'm going to do. Like again, I'm not good at keyframing. No, I want to lighten the load for them as much as is humanly possible. So I'm going to motion capture, do as much as I can on my own. But for some action scenes, it'll really be better if we can kind of fine tune some stuff. So I'm kind of treating animators like this is not a secret. Like this is a weapon. This is our most powerful weapon that we have limited ammunition of. So we really need to make these shots count. So that's going to be my. But if there's more people who want to help, if there's animators who want to help with more stuff, like sure, there's always going to be room for improvement. Like fine, here, why don't you do just a guy chopping an axe in the background? That'll save us some time. Just chopping firewood. Okay. How have you been, Ross? It's been a long time since. Oh yes, Tyler McVicker. Yeah, I'm staying busy. I'm doing okay. I actually made it to the Nexus a bit, but my own personal Nexus where I've reached the promised land of actually being able to experience many games in VR, full stereoscopic, and not get sick, like old games with Vortex. I found actually older games with Vortex, if I tune it right, I don't get sick nearly as fast as with full immersive VR. So I actually played through Unreal and Kingpin that way, and there's a few more games I want to see in VR bad. So this has been like almost like a life goal for me, even like ever since the Elsa Revelator glasses. Basically, I wanted to get that experience, like I'm in the world, and VR delivers that better than anything. So that's been a huge morale boost for me. It's like I stumbled into one of my life goals by accident. Oh yeah, but yeah, Tyler. For those that don't know, Tyler McVicker is he runs the YouTube channel Valve News Network. So if he needs me on for something, I'm happy to appear again. I figure he was just real busy. Let's see. So I'll move on to more. Yeah, you can always email me too, Tyler. Let's see. Well, anybody can really, but. What's your strategy for getting through the grind of great games with unenjoyable long sessions forced gameplay? Yeah, there's too many games now. So my strategy is to just either straight up cheat, get a save file, or just, if there's just nothing around there for that, bail or maybe watch a playthrough. No, I just have no tolerance now. I mean, it depends what kind of grind we're talking about here too, or just, I mean, if it's relatively short, then okay, maybe I could just kind of rush through it. Or if I'm having fun while playing it, then it doesn't matter. I'll just play through the grind, or just, I messed up that time, but this is so much fun. I'm gonna beat this level. If it's giving me that feeling, then there's no problem. But if it's like, this game was great, then this level is absolute garbage, and you're just wasting my time. Like, no, I'm either gonna cheat, find a save file, or if it's just so unapproachable, then I'm gonna give up and watch a playthrough. So yeah, I'm there's too many games for me to get through now for me to just like tolerate the garbage portions. I mean, if it's just so, then it's like, okay, I'll just go through it. But if it's just like a slog, like I said, I replayed Unreal, and the sections on board the ship, I was thinking, I played a little bit of it, and it's like, yeah, this just isn't that fun. I ended up skipping those. It's like, I feel like I wasn't missing much. The ones on the planet were like way better, I thought, or the inside some of the temples. Those levels I thought were way better. So I just kind of played that, and I enjoyed it, and I beat it faster, and I had a better time. I do the same thing with movies and shows now. If I think a particular scene is just garbage and wasting my time, I'm skipping ahead. Okay, now something's cool is happening. I'll keep watching. People ask like how to deal with like their game backlog or how to get to all the stuff they want to watch. This is certainly part of the answer. Just cut out the crap. Okay. Were you releasing the modded maps for Half-Life 2? That's totally up to the mapper, but I'll bring it up with him. I think he's all right with that. I'll mention it to him next time I think of it. Next time I talk to him. Did you ever play World of Warcraft? Yes and no. Going back to what I just said, look, I never was going to be like, the gameplay style of World of Warcraft, it doesn't work for me. So I was never really going to be like a real World of Warcraft player. But, and then the subscription fee, I mean, no. So, however, I mean, I'll confess later, like years afterwards, I did find the world kind of fascinating and neat and really imaginative. But it's like, man, those are such barriers. So I have played it on a server emulator, but I didn't even want to play on a private server emulator because they're trying to recreate the general World of Warcraft experience, and it is so damn slow for me. So I ended up figuring out how to run a server emulator myself. So I ended up just kind of running through most of it and just kind of seeing the world solo. So I didn't really play it exactly. I just kind of took the tour. That's actually a game I'd love to see in VR also, and it's supported actually with VorpX. So yeah, the world's awesome, but it's it's just the gameplay is just not for me. With when you're running your own server, you have admin access to make yourself just invincible or just wipe out the enemy or that sort of thing. So I haven't seen it since Wrath of the Lich King, really. So I don't really know much of what goes on after that. It sounds like they've added cool environments. Like I remember, like I wasn't that interested in Pandaria, but the Maelstrom sounded cool. And they had some sort of like Elder God thing going on, or Warlords of Draenor looked like it might have some neat environments. I don't know. The Legion one looked like it might have some cool stuff. And like the latest one, Shadowlands, sounds like it might look really cool. I mean, environment-wise, so. But yeah, but hearing what the fans have to say, it sounds like it's been taking a major dive. And like, again, the writing apparently got so bad it made gaming news now. Man, boy, you want something funny? Go look up the controversial video of the story. It's the one where Sylvanas confronts the jail keeper or something. Like the video, if you have no context, the video isn't that bad. It's just like, oh, whatever. But apparently, if you've been following the story, this is just like the biggest slap in the face to the play. See, the earlier videos I thought were just even bad standalone, but with some of the writing. But yeah, go and look at the comments for that. They are just they just keel haul the writers in those comments. It was funny. Like, yeah, I was copying and pasting some of them to my friend. That one of them was like the WWE could come up with a better story than this, and my friend said, "Ooh, that one's gonna stink." uh, like, God, I almost want to go and look at them now. I was laughing at the YouTube comments for that. In your Clans video, you mentioned constantly looking for games that give you a Diablo feel. Have you tried Sacred? Yeah, I played through most of Sacred. I really didn't like how the enemies leveled with you. It made it frustrating and kind of counterintuitive, and maybe there's like a strategy. Maybe there's like a special strategy I need to do to kind of maximize how you progress in that. But yeah, Sacred had a real cool feel to it. I never played the expansion to it though. And I tried playing Sacred 2 and just had trouble getting into it. The mood in the first one's definitely different. But yeah, it's pretty neat. It definitely has a more kind of brutal feel to it, like the original Diablo. Any setting you would like to see in a game and haven't yet? Well, okay, this is just the sort of yes, lots. Okay, the cheap answer would be just, well, okay, I guess I have sort of seen it, but not that much, mostly just in a few racing games. I guess kind of the part of the world where I grew up, just kind of forested mountains and kind of where you can kind of really explore. Like forest in games tend to, I have seen this done well in a few driving games. That's about it. I mean, Fallout 76 maybe did this. I haven't played it. I heard so many bad things about that game that it made me in no rush at all to try that game. But yeah, that part of the world, like forested mountains, having towns that you can kind of go to and travel in between. I'd like to see more of that. I'm sure I could come up with better answers, but I need more time to think about it. Okay, rather than just an on-the-spot question. Have you seen some of the new FPS revival games, Dusk and Medieval? I played Dusk. Some in development are taking inspiration from Deus Ex, System Shock 2, or Arx Fatalis. Oh, great. I didn't know. Like, okay, Periptia, Core Decay. Hedon look more like an action thing that I saw. Gloomwood, Filcher, Monomyth. I guess I don't know the last two. I only heard the name of Gloomwood before. Periptia? I don't know that word. I don't know the details on it. I think I forgot Core Decay. Those could be on my list for all I know. Some of those. So. Yeah, I've heard a lot of these referred to as like boomer shooters. And I realize my favorite games are like a little bit later than that. Because I don't miss the maze-like design of games. I mean, if it's like a big open thing with things to explore in it, that's great. But if it's just a maze getting in the way of combat, it doesn't do much for it. I mean, Deus Ex and System Shock 2, yeah, those are fantastic games that I love, and I'd love to see more stuff like in that vein. I really like Serious Sam. Although even Serious Sam, it's like, I like the outdoor stuff much more than the indoor ones. The indoor maps are kind of like, yeah. I really did like Strife. Strife was pretty great. And Painkiller was another one that was just fantastic. So so a lot of these like retro games, it seems like they're kind of emulating the little bit earlier stuff, like the later 90s games that were, for game design, those were never quite my favorite. Have you ever tried out any email clients RSS Atom readers. I find them a lot more efficient than using Gmail's website. Maybe I should. Yeah, not really, but maybe I should. I'm pretty badly backlogged on email. I haven't watched. I've seen some of the playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2. I saw the big reveal of Metal Gear Solid 2. They're asking about if I've seen playthroughs of them because I've watched it for one. I haven't seen it for the others, so maybe I'll catch up eventually. Okay, I probably should end it soon. Okay. Would you consider some more requested game streams, maybe donation based? Jeez, I hate going down that road because I kind of like making videos for people who may not have money to like want to watch things rather than just steer things in direction of that. But I mean, hey, maybe you guys could put together like a poll for me on Reddit or something or the forums, and we could come up with like the top ones people want to see. I mean, the thing is, like streaming, it's like that's time. Some games lend themselves better to streaming than others. Tell you what, I'll try to put more stuff aside for streaming for games I plan on playing. Like with Unreal VR, I mean, you can watch me with the helmet on my face, and even then, I'm not going to be streaming as long. I don't do it much more than about 40 minutes, really, at a time. But yeah, that's the other thing. Streaming tends to go on longer than I normally play games for a long session too. So it's kind of like, I kind of like to play a little bit, then like either get back to work or do something else, or maybe watch something. So I kind of pace myself more than with a streaming game. The urge is to kind of keep going. But maybe I'll do that for some. Hey, Sunless Sea is reserved. I'll do Sunless Sea on a stream, and that's one I want to play. So I'll try and look and see which ones might be better for stream. Yeah, that's the other thing. Some of these games, I mean, I tried them for a little bit, and I said, yeah, I don't really feel like this game doesn't seem that good. No, I'm bailing, and that's not going to make for a very good stream. But I guess if I had a few lined up. Okay. Any chance of getting a Warcraft RTS game dungeon? Not really planning to, though. I haven't decided 100%, but there's a very high chance Warcraft gets a cameo in the next game dungeon. So there's something to show there. Ross, I was wondering what your threshold on anime art style for games is. It's relatively low. Okay. I'm trying to think of like okay, it's Castlevania. That's my threshold. So it's like in Castlevania, yeah, you get the anime portraits and like the later ones, but it's basically just the kind of pixel art. That Castlevania is my threshold. I have not played Elex yet, but I do. That's on my to-play list. And I seem to be caught up. Okay. Oh, wait, no, there's two more. Do you have any J2ME game that you miss playing? Is that JavaScript? Wait, what's J2ME? I forget. Yeah, Java. A Java game that I miss. I haven't played many Java games. Okay. I mean, there's Minecraft. I mean, I guess. Well, I only played a little bit of it. I mean, that cookie click. I just played enough to see what it was about, the cookie clicker game, and then there's like a cheat code I did to see the other. Even then, I need to go back and like read the achievements. The writing is really good for that, but I think that's a Java game. I guess I don't know many Java games. Sorry. When you do watch anime, do you watch it subbed or dubbed? I don't know. I guess whichever seems to fit better. Because sometimes the voice actors can make a pretty big difference. Yeah, okay, I get what okay, I'll respond to this. They're saying if something else can make a bit more money for Ross, maybe he'll have more spare time for doing other stuff he really wants to do. See, this is it. The streaming comes at a time cost because that's more time than because I have to get time setting up. I can't just go in, play the game for like 15, 20 minutes and then just go out, go do something else, or I have to do it for hours, and then it's a little more mental energy. Whereas I'd rather just spend that making a more quality video. So I forgot the N-Age had games. So they're asking about that. That's Engage is another one of those. Oh, I kind of forgot about that. Yeah. Okay, so we'll end it there on the Engage Immortal Classic. Video's coming. Video's coming. I know I keep saying that, but I really do mean it. And my metric is like what I get out this year, and there's still some time left. So I think people will understand more by the end of the year. So, okay, I'm gonna go. Thanks for showing up. This still went on too long. See ya.